You are chosen by God to save people. This is not a suggestion. This is a divine assignment placed upon your life. You were not born by accident, nor were you placed on this earth to simply exist. No, you were born with a purpose, and that purpose is to bring light into a world shrouded in darkness. There are people around you who are waiting for a savior, someone who will stand in the gap, someone who will speak the truth, someone who will not be swayed by fear or doubt. You are that person. God has handpicked you to be the vessel through which his love and grace flow to others. It is not about your own ability or your qualifications. It's about God's purpose being fulfilled through you. When you think about the magnitude of this calling, it can feel overwhelming. But let me tell you, God doesn't call the equipped, he equips the called. The moment he chose you, he also equipped you with everything you need to fulfill that purpose. You may not see it now, but you have everything inside you to do the work God has assigned to you. He has placed within you the power to heal, the wisdom to guide, and the compassion to love like he loves. You are not just anyone walking through life. You carry within you the essence of the divine. Your words have the power to lift the broken, to restore the hopeless, and to give life where there is despair. The world is looking for the Savior that God has already chosen, and that Savior is you. Don't underestimate the power that lies within you. When God chooses you for a task, he does not look at your past or your present struggles. He sees your potential. He knows what he has placed in you. The gifts, the talents, and the divine wisdom are already inside of you. Your journey is not about discovering new things, but unlocking what God has already planted. You are the answer to someone's prayer. Right now, there are individuals who are waiting for someone to bring them hope, waiting for someone to guide them back to truth, and waiting for someone to lead them to the love of God. And God has chosen you for that very task. This calling is not for a select few. It is for everyone who is willing to step up, rise above their circumstances, and allow God's will to be done in their life. The path may not always be easy and the road may be long, but know this, you are not alone. God is with you every step of the way. His hand is upon you, his favor is surrounding you, and his wisdom is guiding you. You were chosen not because of who you are, but because of who he is. So stand tall, walk with confidence, and know that every moment of your life is divinely orchestrated for this purpose. You are chosen, you are empowered, you are equipped, and you are the one who will make a difference in this world. You are chosen by God for a divine assignment. You were not born by accident or placed here just to go through the motions of life. No, God had a purpose for your existence before the foundation of the world. Your life is not random, it is intentional, and it is part of a much bigger plan. Every moment, every breath, every experience you have is woven into the fabric of the mission God has for you. He chose you specifically to fulfill a unique purpose that only you can accomplish. Think about this. There are billions of people on this earth, yet God, in his infinite wisdom, selected you to be his instrument. You are not here to merely exist, to get caught up in the distractions and struggles of life. You are here for a reason, and that reason is far greater than what you see with your natural eyes. You were created with a destiny that stretches far beyond the limits of your personal journey. The purpose that God has for you is one that will impact the lives of others, bringing light where there is darkness, healing where there is hurt, and hope where there is despair. When you consider the world we live in today, it is clear that many are lost, struggling, and seeking answers. But God has strategically placed you where you are at the exact time and place needed to make a difference. There is a reason why you were born into the family you were, why you live in the community you do, why you have the experiences and gifts that you have. Every detail of your life has been orchestrated by God to align with his plan for you. Your calling is not just about you, it is about the lives you will touch, the people you will inspire, and the lives you will help transform. You may have faced difficulties or felt unqualified, but the truth is God doesn't choose based on what the world values. He doesn't look at your past mistakes or current challenges. He looks at your heart, your willingness to obey, and your openness to be used by him. God sees in you what no one else can see. He sees your potential, your capacity to grow, and the unique mark you will leave on this world. Even when you doubt yourself, remember that God's calling on your life is bigger than anything you can imagine. Your purpose is not just a small part of your life. It is the very essence of why you are here. It is what God has been preparing you for through every experience, every success, every failure. You are here not to just take up space, but to fulfill a mission that will change lives. And the beauty of this divine assignment is that it's already been given to you. You don't need to search for it or wonder if you are chosen. The moment you came into this world, God placed his call upon you. You were created for greatness, not by your own doing, but by God's perfect will. Embrace that truth because you are chosen for something far greater than you could ever ask or think. Your purpose is not just to exist, but to serve. You have been specifically chosen by God to save others. When God calls you, he doesn't simply call you to live a comfortable life for yourself. He calls you to stand in the gap for those who are lost, who are hurting, and who are searching for hope. You are chosen to be a vessel of his truth, his love, and his healing power. God has positioned you in a place where your voice, your actions, and your life can be a beacon of light for others. The world around you is filled with people who need to be saved. There are individuals drowning in pain, confusion, and hopelessness, waiting for someone to bring them the hope of salvation. You are the one that God has chosen to be the answer to their cries. Whether you realize it or not, your life is a living testimony of God's grace and power, and others are watching you. They are looking for someone who will show them the way out of the darkness they find themselves in. They are looking for someone to lead them to the truth, someone who will speak words of life and encouragement when they feel their world is falling apart. Your service is not defined by what you receive in return, but by your obedience to God's call. It's not about what you can gain or how it will benefit you personally, but about fulfilling the assignment that God has placed before you. It's about stepping out of your comfort zone, laying down your own desires, and allowing God to use you for his greater purpose. You were chosen because God knew that you could make an eternal impact on someone else's life. When you understand this, you begin to see that your life has far greater significance than you may have initially thought. Every interaction you have with people is an opportunity to serve them, to help them find the way to healing, to peace, and to salvation. It could be a word of encouragement to someone who feels like giving up, a hand reaching out to someone in need, or a simple act of kindness that speaks volumes about the love of God. Your purpose is to serve, to give, and to save, not by your own strength, but through the power of God working in you and through you. There will be moments when it feels like your efforts are unnoticed, when it seems like no one appreciates what you're doing. But remember, you are not doing this for human validation. Your service is unto God, and he sees everything. He knows the heart behind your actions, and he honors that. God has placed this burden on your heart, and it's not something you should take lightly. You were created to make a difference in the lives of others, and every life you touch is a life being impacted by God's grace. Your service doesn't have to be grand or visible to the world. In fact, often the most profound acts of service happen behind the scenes when no one is watching but God. It is the quiet prayers, the simple acts of kindness, and the willingness to walk alongside someone in their pain that often make the biggest impact. You may never know how far reaching your influence truly is, but trust that God is using you to save people in ways you may never fully understand. When you embrace your calling to serve, you begin to realize that it's not about you, it's about others. It's about fulfilling God's plan for your life by being a channel through which his love and grace can flow. Your life becomes a living sacrifice, a testament to the power of God's love. You are not just chosen for your own benefit, but for the benefit of those around you. You are the one that God has called to reach out to the lost, the broken, and the hurting, bringing them the hope that only he can offer. When God chooses you, he doesn't call you because of your qualifications or your personal achievements. He doesn't look at your past mistakes, your limitations, or your present struggles. God's calling on your life is not based on what the world sees or what you think you can do on your own. It's based on his divine purpose for you and the strength he has placed within you to fulfill that purpose. He doesn't choose the equipped, he equips the called. The moment God places a calling on your life, he also provides everything you need to accomplish it. This means that no matter where you are in life or what you've gone through, God has already equipped you with the tools you need to fulfill his will. He has given you everything necessary to walk in your divine purpose. You might not see it yet, and you might feel unprepared, but rest assured, God's equipping doesn't depend on your own abilities. It's His strength working through you that matters. He places His Spirit within you, empowering you to do what you could never do on your own. You may feel inadequate. You may feel like you're not ready or worthy, but the truth is, God has already put inside of you the wisdom, the ability, and the strength to succeed. You don't need to wait for the perfect conditions to begin fulfilling your calling. You don't need to wait until you feel ready, because God's provision doesn't come when we are perfect. It comes when we step out in faith and trust that He will provide what we need along the way. The equipment, the knowledge, and the wisdom that you need will come as you walk out the path He has set before you. God has a way of working through our weaknesses to display His power. The very areas where you feel most inadequate are the places where God will show Himself strong. When you feel unqualified, that is the perfect moment for God to move. It is in our weakness that His strength is made perfect. The truth is, God's equipping comes in ways you might not expect. Sometimes it's through the people He places in your life. Other times it's through life experiences that shape you and prepare you for what lies ahead. He opens doors you never imagined, and He provides opportunities that seem beyond your reach. But all of this is part of God's plan to equip you for the purpose He has set for you. Don't let fear or self-doubt keep you from moving forward. Understand that God's equipping isn't about your ability to accomplish the task. It's about His presence and His power working through you. As you lean on Him and trust in His strength, you will find that He has already given you the tools you need to make a difference in the world. You have the knowledge, the wisdom, the patience, and the grace to do what God has called you to do. When you walk in faith, knowing that God has already equipped you, you begin to realize that it is not by your own strength that you will achieve anything. It is by His power. The more you yield to Him, the more His equipping will become evident in your life. You will start to walk in authority, wisdom, and confidence, because you are not walking in your own strength. You are walking in the power of the one who called you. God has given you everything you need, and He will continue to provide for you as you walk the path He has laid out. So embrace this truth. You are not lacking. You are not ill-equipped. God has already given you what you need. Trust that His provision will be there every step of the way. The task may seem daunting, but it is not beyond your capability, because God's equipping is more than enough. His power, His wisdom, and His grace will carry you through to the fulfillment of your divine purpose. Inside of you is the divine essence of God Himself. You are not just a mere human being walking through life. You are a vessel that carries the very power and presence of God. The moment you accepted His call, the Holy Spirit took residence in you, endowing you with the capacity to do what seems impossible. This is a profound truth you must embrace. God has placed within you the same power that raised Jesus from the dead. Think about that for a moment. The power to heal, to restore, to transform, and to change lives is already within you. Too often we limit ourselves based on what we see or what we think we can accomplish. We focus on our own weaknesses, our lack of resources, or the size of the challenges before us. But when you understand that the divine power of God is alive within you, everything changes. You no longer walk through life in your own strength. You are empowered by the Spirit of the living God to carry out the mission He has called you to. This power inside of you is not something you need to earn. It's not something that comes from your own effort. It's a gift from God. He has already equipped you with everything necessary for the task at hand. The moment you recognize that the same Spirit that raised Christ is within you, you begin to operate in a new realm of confidence and boldness. You no longer have to fear what's ahead, because you know that God has already given you everything you need to overcome any obstacle. This power is not just for certain moments in your life, it's with you at all times. When you are faced with challenges, when you are presented with opportunities to speak into someone's life, when you need to stand firm in your calling, it is this divine power that sustains you. You do not need to rely on your own abilities, your own wisdom, or your own strength. The power that God has placed within you transcends anything that could come against you. The key is to align yourself with His will, to allow the Holy Spirit to guide and empower you to do what you are called to do. God's power in you is not just for personal benefit, it's for the transformation of others. The moment you step into your purpose, that power begins to flow out of you and touch those around you. When you speak words of encouragement, when you offer compassion, when you pray for someone in need, you are not relying on your own emotions or your own strength. You are operating in the divine power of God. Your words have the ability to heal, to restore, and to bring people into the presence of God. Your actions are no longer limited by what you can do in the natural. Through God's power, your life becomes a conduit of His love, truth, and transformation. This divine power is also the source of your ability to persevere. When you feel tired, discouraged, or overwhelmed, remember that the power of God within you is more than enough. It is a strength that doesn't run out, a well that will never dry up. When you tap into this power, you have an endless source of energy, wisdom, and determination to keep going, even when the road is tough. The same power that enables you to speak truth into the lives of others will empower you to stand firm in your own challenges. It's also important to understand that this power is not something you need to constantly strive for. It is already in you. The moment you gave your life to God, you received the Holy Spirit, and with Him came all the power you will ever need. The question is, are you activating it? Are you walking in the full realization of the power that God has placed within you? God has equipped you with His power, but you must be willing to let that power flow through you. You must align your thoughts, your words, and your actions with the will of God so that His power can be fully expressed in and through you. As you continue to grow in faith, as you continue to walk in obedience to God's calling on your life, this power within you will become more and more evident. You will begin to see the impact you are having on others, not because of your own strength, but because of the divine power of God that flows through you. You will witness healing, restoration, and breakthroughs in the lives of others, and you will realize that all of it is possible because of the power of God at work within you. Remember, this power is not just for special occasions or for a select few. It is available to you every day and every moment. Whether you are dealing with personal struggles or reaching out to help someone else, the power of God is there to sustain you. It is a power that is limitless, eternal, and more than enough to carry out the mission God has entrusted to you. There is something incredibly powerful about understanding your identity in God. When you know who you are, you begin to operate in the fullness of that identity. Your identity in God is not based on your past mistakes, your failures, or your shortcomings. It is rooted in who He says you are. You are not defined by the labels the world has placed on you. You are not defined by the opinions or judgments of others. You are not even defined by the limitations you may perceive within yourself. Your identity is anchored in the truth that God has chosen you, called you, and equipped you for a higher purpose. This understanding of your identity is key to walking in the power that God has placed within you. If you don't know who you are, you will never fully walk in the authority that God has given you. When you understand that you are a child of the Most High God, that you are loved, chosen, and empowered to do great things, you begin to rise above the challenges, the doubts, and the fears that come against you. You are no longer a victim to your circumstances or your emotions. Instead, you are more than a conqueror because of who you are in Christ. Your identity is the foundation upon which your purpose is built. It's not just about what you do, it's about who you are. You are a reflection of God's image, and everything about your life should point back to Him. When you embrace your identity in Christ, you no longer live for approval, success, or recognition from others. You live for the glory of God and to fulfill the purpose He has given you. Your identity is not something that can be shaken by life's circumstances. No matter what challenges you face, when you stand firm in who God has called you to be, nothing can move you. It's important to realize that your identity in God is not something you earn. It's something that God freely gives you. The moment you accepted Christ, you became a new creation. Your past no longer defines you. Your mistakes, your failures, and the things you've done wrong are all wiped away by the grace of God. What defines you now is the love of God and the calling He has placed on your life. You are not your mistakes. You are not your failures. You are not the sum of your past experiences. You are who God says you are: a chosen vessel, a child of the King, a co-heir with Christ, and someone who is destined for greatness. When you know your identity in God, it changes the way you view yourself and others. You begin to see yourself as God sees you, not as someone who is weak or unworthy, but as someone who has been given the strength and the grace to fulfill his purpose. You begin to see others in the same light, understanding that they too are chosen and loved by God. This perspective shifts the way you interact with the world around you. Instead of seeing obstacles, you see opportunities to walk in the power of God's love and share that love with others. Living in your true identity also means walking in humility and recognizing that it is not by your own power that you accomplish anything. Everything you have, everything you are, and everything you will be is because of God's grace. When you are grounded in your identity, you are able to walk with confidence, not arrogance. Confidence that comes from knowing that God has equipped you for the task he has set before you. Confidence that comes from understanding that no matter what, you have the power of God within you. And this confidence is what allows you to step into situations and challenges with courage, knowing that the one who called you is with you every step of the way. Your identity in Christ is not just a mental concept, it is a truth that should shape every part of your life. It should shape the way you speak, the way you think, the way you act, and the way you approach every situation. When you are grounded in your identity, you don't have to strive for recognition or validation. You don't have to chase after approval or success. You already have everything you need in Christ. Your identity is rooted in his love, his power, and his purpose for your life. And once you embrace this truth, you can walk in the fullness of who you are without fear, without hesitation, and without doubt. The enemy's primary goal is to make you forget who you are. He will try to distract you, deceive you, and cause you to doubt your identity in Christ. But when you know who you are, the enemy's lies become irrelevant. No matter how many times he tries to attack you, you stand firm in the truth of who you are in Christ. Your identity is unshakable. You are a child of the King, a vessel of God's love, and a person chosen for a divine purpose. That is the truth. And when you live in that truth, you walk with a boldness and confidence that cannot be shaken. As you understand and accept that you are chosen by God for a greater purpose, the next step is to realize the incredible responsibility that comes with this calling. Being chosen by God means that you have been selected not just for your own benefit, but for the benefit of those around you. Your life is meant to be a channel through which God's love, his grace, and his wisdom flow to others. When God chooses you, he does not do so for you to keep his blessings to yourself. He has entrusted you with something precious, and he expects you to share it with the world. This is where your purpose takes shape. You are a vessel meant to carry his message, his healing, his transformation, and his hope to those who are lost, hurting, and in need. Think about the people you encounter on a daily basis, your family, your friends, your co-workers, or even strangers. You are the one God has placed in their lives to make a difference. Your words, your actions, and your very presence can bring about change in ways you may never fully understand. It is not by chance that you are in the positions you are in. Every encounter, every relationship, and every situation you face is part of the plan God has for you to influence others for his kingdom. God doesn't choose you because of your qualifications or your ability to accomplish great things on your own. He chooses you because he knows that through his power and his grace, you can accomplish what he has set before you. He sees your potential, what you can become with him on your side. He knows that you have the capacity to make an eternal difference in the lives of those around you. But that only happens when you step into your calling, when you allow him to work through you to reach others. Your calling to save and transform others is not just about preaching to large crowds or performing miracles. It's about the everyday interactions you have with those around you. It's about showing love to the unlovable, offering forgiveness to those who have wronged you, and extending grace to those who are struggling. It's about being the hands and feet of Jesus in every moment of your life. Your actions speak louder than your words. The way you live, the way you treat others, the way you respond to challenges, these are all part of your mission to bring God's kingdom to earth. You don't have to wait for a grand opportunity to change someone's life. Every person you meet is an opportunity for God to work through you. Every conversation is a chance to speak life into someone's situation. You may not even realize the impact you're having, but when you are obedient to God's calling on your life, He will use you in ways that you cannot imagine. You are an instrument in His hands, and He can do incredible things through your obedience. Being chosen by God to save others means that you must take up the mantle of leadership in a world that desperately needs guidance. You are called to be an example to others, to show them what it means to live according to God's truth, to walk in His love, and to seek His will. This is not an easy task, and it requires sacrifice. It requires putting others before yourself, giving when it's inconvenient, and speaking truth even when it's uncomfortable. But the rewards of fulfilling this calling are far greater than any sacrifice you make. There will be times when you face opposition, when the road seems difficult, or when the people around you don't understand the mission you've been given. But in those moments, remember that you are not alone. God is with you every step of the way. He will give you the strength to keep going when you feel like giving up. He will provide the wisdom and guidance you need to navigate the challenges you face. And He will surround you with people who will support you, encourage you, and walk alongside you in this journey. When you begin to see yourself as a vessel of God's love and power, your entire perspective on life changes. You no longer live for yourself. You no longer focus on your own desires, your own ambitions, or your own comfort. Instead, your life becomes a reflection of God's kingdom on earth. You live to serve others, to bring hope to the hopeless, to heal the brokenhearted, and to share the good news of God's love with those who need it most. The responsibility may seem daunting at times, but remember that you were chosen for this very purpose. You were chosen to be the light in the darkness, the hope in the hopeless, and the change in a world that so desperately needs it. As you embrace your role as someone chosen by God to bring transformation to others, you must also recognize that this calling is not without its challenges. In fact, it's precisely because of the magnitude of the responsibility that the journey will often feel difficult. But this does not mean that you are unprepared or unequipped for the task at hand. God never calls you to a purpose without equipping you with what you need to fulfill it. Every challenge you face, every setback you encounter, and every obstacle that seems insurmountable is part of the refining process God uses to shape you into the person He has destined you to be. One of the greatest obstacles you will face in answering God's call to serve others is the fear that you aren't capable. There will be moments when doubt creeps in, when you question whether you have the skills, the experience, or the wisdom to make a real difference. But this is precisely when you must lean on the strength of God. Your confidence must not come from your own abilities, but from knowing that God has chosen you, and He will never leave you to face these challenges alone. He will give you the wisdom you need when you need it. He will give you the strength to keep going when you feel exhausted. And He will give you the courage to speak up when you are afraid. You may also face opposition from those around you. There will be people who don't understand your mission, who mock you, or who try to discourage you from pursuing the calling God has placed on your life. But this is where your understanding of your identity becomes vital. When you are secure in who you are in Christ, the opinions and criticism of others no longer have the power to shake you. You can stand firm in the knowledge that God has placed this calling on your life, and no one can take it away from you. In fact, you will find that the greatest breakthroughs often come after the greatest challenges. The times when you feel like you can't go on are often the moments when God is doing the deepest work in you. It is in the struggles that your faith is strengthened, your perseverance is built, and your character is refined. God allows challenges to shape you because He knows that the people He is sending you to serve need to see a testimony of God's power in action. They need to see someone who has been through the fire and come out stronger on the other side. This is the message of hope you carry, not just through your words, but through your life. As you press forward in this mission to save and transform others, remember that every challenge is an opportunity for God to be glorified. You don't have to have all the answers. You don't have to have everything figured out. What you need is a willing heart, a heart that trusts God, even when the road ahead is uncertain. When you step out in faith, God will meet you where you are, and He will do more through you than you could ever imagine. Sometimes the journey may seem slow and the progress you make may feel small. But don't be discouraged. Every act of kindness, every word of encouragement, and every moment of obedience is part of the larger picture. You are making a difference, even if you can't always see it. You may never fully know the impact you've had on someone's life until eternity. But trust that when you are faithful to God's calling, He is using you to change lives in ways you may never fully understand. Your role is to remain faithful, to persevere, and to trust that God is working through you. Remember, you are not alone in this mission. God has equipped you with everything you need, and He will continue to provide for you every step of the way. He has surrounded you with a community of believers who are also on a mission to bring hope, healing, and transformation to the world. Lean on each other for support, prayer, and encouragement. When you grow weary, remember that there is strength in numbers. Together, you can accomplish more than you could ever do on your own. And above all, keep your eyes fixed on the one who has called you. Keep your focus on His purpose for your life and trust that as you remain faithful, He will work all things together for good. The road may not always be easy, but it is always worth it. As you stay committed to fulfilling the calling God has placed on your life, you will witness the incredible transformation that takes place in the lives of those around you. And in doing so, you will also experience the profound joy and fulfillment that comes from knowing you are living out your purpose, your true purpose, in the way that God intended. When you step into the purpose for which you were chosen, you begin to understand that the impact of your life goes far beyond what you could ever imagine. The call to save others, to bring transformation, is not just about changing individual lives, it's about creating a ripple effect that can reach generations. What you do in your life, the choices you make, and the way you live has the potential to influence others in ways that extend beyond the immediate moment. Your actions will leave behind a legacy that echoes far into the future. The calling to bring salvation and change is not limited to a single action, a single word, or a single moment in time. It is a process that unfolds over your entire life. The relationships you build, the challenges you overcome, the love you show, and the sacrifices you make all contribute to a far-reaching legacy that shapes the world around you. Every person you encounter is an opportunity for God to work through you in a powerful way. You may never fully realize the depth of your influence, but the truth is that the impact you make on one person can have a far-reaching effect. You might touch someone's heart, speak a word of encouragement that sparks a transformation, or lead someone to faith that sets the course of their entire life. Your willingness to remain faithful in the face of challenges will be tested repeatedly. You may feel tempted to give up, to walk away, or to abandon your mission, especially when it seems like things are not progressing as you expected. But remember this, God's timeline is not always aligned with our own. What may seem like a delay or an obstacle in your life is often a part of God's perfect plan, preparing you for something even greater than what you could have imagined. Trust in His timing. Trust that the steps you are taking, even when they feel small or insignificant, are leading you to the ultimate fulfillment of your purpose. In the midst of your journey, you will also be called to grow in ways that challenge you. God will stretch you beyond your comfort zone, urging you to step into new levels of faith, boldness, and courage. He will ask you to forgive when it's hard to forgive, to love when it's difficult to love, and to give when it feels like you have nothing left to give. Each act of obedience, each step of faith strengthens your ability to fulfill the calling He has placed on your life. It is not always easy, but it is always worth it. The reward is not just in the outcome, but in the process of becoming more like Christ with every step you take. God's call on your life will not only affect you personally, it will impact the lives of others in profound ways. As you remain faithful to your purpose, you will inspire those around you to rise up and embrace their own callings. People will look at your life and see evidence of God's faithfulness, His provision, and His transformative power. You will become a living testimony of God's ability to take someone ordinary and make them extraordinary for His glory. Your obedience and faithfulness will serve as a beacon of hope and inspiration for others who may be struggling to find their own path. You will also experience moments of great joy and fulfillment as you witness the lives of others being transformed through your obedience. There will be moments when you see the seeds you have planted bear fruit, and you will experience the deep satisfaction of knowing that you have played a role in someone's healing, growth, and salvation. These moments will strengthen your resolve and remind you of why you are doing what you are doing. They will reaffirm that you are on the right path, fulfilling the divine purpose for which you were created. At the same time, you must also be prepared for the spiritual warfare that often accompanies this calling. As you step out to fulfill God's purpose, the enemy will try to discourage you, distract you, and even try to defeat you. But remember, your battle is not against flesh and blood, but against spiritual forces of darkness. Stand firm in your faith, put on the armor of God, and know that you are more than a conqueror through Christ who strengthens you. Every challenge, every obstacle, and every battle you face is an opportunity for God to demonstrate His power and to grow you in your faith. It is also important to remember that your calling is not just about your personal success or fulfillment. It is about the glory of God and the advancement of His kingdom. Every step you take is a part of a larger story, a story that began long before you were born and will continue long after you have passed. Your life is part of God's grand narrative, a narrative that is far bigger than yourself. When you embrace this truth, it helps to put your struggles into perspective. The challenges you face are not just about you, they are about God's plan being fulfilled in the world. And as you align yourself with His purpose, you become a vital part of that plan. You are also called to persevere in the face of rejection and opposition. Not everyone will understand your mission. Not everyone will support your vision. But that's okay. You are not called to please people. You are called to please God. When you are faithful to His calling, He will open the right doors, bring the right people into your life, and provide the resources you need to fulfill His purpose. Trust that He will lead you every step of the way. When you remain focused on His mission, He will take care of the rest. As you continue on this journey, remember that God has already equipped you with everything you need to fulfill your purpose. You have been chosen and you have been given the Holy Spirit to guide, empower, and strengthen you. You are not walking this path alone. God is with you every step of the way, and His promises are true. He will never leave you nor forsake you, and He will finish the work He has begun in you. When you keep your eyes on Him and remain faithful, you will see His purposes fulfilled in and through your life in ways that you could never have imagined. As you continue to walk in your divine calling to save others and transform lives, you must remember that God's plan for your life is far more than just about the present. It is about the eternal impact you are making through your faithfulness, your actions, and your willingness to be used by Him. Every choice you make, every relationship you nurture, and every act of service you offer has the potential to create lasting ripples that reach far beyond what you see in the moment. God's plan for you is designed to affect the lives of generations to come, extending into eternity. You were chosen by God not only to change the world you live in, but to influence future generations. When you step into your purpose, it is not just about what you do for the people you see around you. It's about what you do for the kingdom of God, which spans the entirety of human history and into the future. The influence of your life reaches beyond the here and now. The legacy you leave, the truth you speak, and the love you show will continue to have an impact long after you are gone. Think about it. Everything you do is part of a much larger narrative that spans beyond your own lifetime. The people you touch, the lives you transform, the way you guide others toward faith, and the wisdom you impart are all part of the foundation for a future that is built on the principles of God's kingdom. You may not always see the results of your labor in your lifetime, but trust that God is working in ways that transcend your understanding. Just as you have been influenced by those who came before you, your life and your calling will shape those who come after you. The work you do, the truth you speak, and the faith you display in the face of difficulty will have far-reaching consequences. You are not just working for today's reward, but for an eternal impact. The sacrifices you make, the service you offer, and the love you pour into others are not in vain. God sees every action, every word, and every moment of obedience, and He will honor that faithfulness. It's important to recognize that this process is not always immediate. The results of your labor may not always be visible in the moment, but they are always at work. Your impact is not limited to the immediate changes you see in others, but extends into their future. Every life you touch has the potential to touch countless others. Your obedience to God's calling is planting seeds that will grow and bear fruit for generations. For example, you may help someone in their darkest hour, guiding them to find hope and purpose. They in turn may go on to impact their families, their communities, and even the broader world in ways you may never fully see. The legacy you create is not limited to your actions alone. It continues through the people you influence and the generations they will go on to influence. Your obedience to God's calling is far-reaching, and it is not bound by the limitations of time or space. This is the beauty of walking in your divine calling. You are not just affecting those around you. In the present, you are planting seeds for the future. You are creating a legacy of faith, hope, and love that will endure for generations to come. The lives you touch, the hearts you heal, and the hope you restore will ripple through time, creating a legacy that is bigger than yourself. You may never fully know the extent of the impact your life has on the world, but trust that God is at work and His plan is unfolding in ways you cannot even begin to imagine. It's important to remain faithful and patient, knowing that the work God has called you to is not just for today, it is for eternity. God's kingdom is not just something that exists in the future, it is something that is being built here and now through your life. Every act of kindness, every word of truth, and every step of faith you take is contributing to the establishment of His kingdom, which will stand forever. You are not just living for today, but for eternity. And when you embrace the full weight of that truth, you will begin to understand the significance of your calling. You were chosen to play a role in God's eternal plan, and the work you do today will bear fruit that lasts long after you are gone. You are building something far greater than yourself, something that will impact not just this generation, but generations to come. Keep walking in your purpose, knowing that the eternal legacy you are creating will stand as a testimony to the greatness of God's plan and the power of His kingdom. In closing, remember that being chosen by God is not a momentary event, but a lifelong journey. You have been called to something greater than yourself, and through your obedience, your faith, and your actions, you are becoming a vessel through which God's love and transformation flow. The impact of your life will stretch far beyond your immediate surroundings, reaching into eternity and touching generations to come. Understand that the path may not always be easy, but it is filled with purpose. You are not walking this journey alone. God's presence is with you every step of the way, equipping you, empowering you, and guiding you. And while the challenges you face may seem insurmountable at times, they are part of the refining process that prepares you for the incredible work He has set before you. Stay faithful, stay focused, and keep pressing forward with the knowledge that your calling is significant. Your life matters. You are part of a much bigger plan, and your faithfulness today is sowing seeds that will yield an eternal harvest. You were chosen by God to save and transform lives, and your obedience to this calling will bring about change, not just for today, but for all eternity. God is about to move suddenly in your life, and when He does, nothing will be the same again. You see, too many people spend their lives looking for slow progress, thinking that change must come incrementally. But God doesn't work according to our timetables or our limited expectations. He's not confined to the patterns we've created. He's about to break into your life with a suddenness that will leave you in awe. God's timing is perfect, and He knows the exact moment to act. Sometimes we become anxious or frustrated, waiting for things to unfold. But God is positioning you for a shift that will surpass anything you could have imagined. He's not just arranging circumstances, He's arranging divine moments in your life. When God moves suddenly, it's not an accident. It's a divine setup. Think about how many times in Scripture God showed up suddenly. He parted the Red Sea suddenly. He called forth Lazarus from the dead suddenly. The walls of Jericho fell suddenly. What you must understand is that God doesn't need time to do what He's going to do in your life. He meets your faith, your trust, and your readiness to receive. You may feel like everything is quiet right now, but that's only because God is preparing something spectacular behind the scenes. It is important that you don't get discouraged when things seem to be at a standstill. God is orchestrating every detail. He is positioning you in the right place at the right time for the sudden move of God. You may not understand it today, but soon, very soon, you will witness the power of God like never before. Suddenly, doors will open that you thought were shut for good. Suddenly, opportunities will come that you never saw coming. Suddenly, relationships will heal, finances will change, and your future will be brighter than you ever imagined. Don't let your current situation deceive you into thinking that God has forgotten about you. Your breakthrough is not delayed, it is divinely timed. He is aligning things in your favor, and when he moves, it will be swift. You may have been waiting for years, but when God moves suddenly, it will be as though those years were nothing compared to what he is about to do. Your waiting has been a time of preparation. Your faith has been building. Your trust in him has been growing. The sudden move of God requires action on your part. Are you ready for it? Are you in a position to receive it? Because when it comes, it will require your full attention, your obedience, and your willingness to move with him. You must be alert, prepared, and ready to step into what God is opening up for you. This is not a time to shrink back in fear or doubt. This is the time to rise up, knowing that the moment you've been waiting for is just ahead. God is about to move suddenly, and you are about to experience his favor, his power, and his grace in ways you have never known. Get ready, because when he moves, everything changes. God's timing is perfect, and often we fail to recognize that because we live in a world of instant gratification. We want things to happen quickly, and we want them on our terms. But God does not work according to our schedules. He is not bound by time the way we are. Time as we know it is a created concept. It is not something that limits God. God exists outside of time, and everything he does is done with divine precision. He knows the exact moment when your breakthrough will be most impactful, and he orchestrates every detail to ensure that it comes at the right time. We may find ourselves frustrated, waiting, and wondering why things aren't happening fast enough. But in those moments, we must remind ourselves that God sees the bigger picture. He knows the paths we are walking down, the lessons we still need to learn, and the moments of growth that must take place before we are ready for the sudden move he has in store. His delay is not a denial. It's preparation. God is working in the unseen, behind the scenes, arranging circumstances that we are not yet aware of. He is fine-tuning the details of our lives to ensure that when his moment arrives, we are not just ready, but fully equipped to step into what he has prepared for us. You see, God does not rush. He is never late, and he is never early. His moves come exactly when they are supposed to. If you think about some of the greatest moments in Scripture, you realize that God often moves when all hope seems lost. It's when there seems to be no way out, no way forward, that God steps in and does something powerful, something that only he can do. It's not just about timing, but about his perfect understanding of what needs to happen in your life at the moment. When you understand that God is never in a rush, you can begin to trust his timing. You can rest knowing that he is preparing you for a shift that will be far greater than you can comprehend right now. In the waiting, we are being refined. And as hard as it is to wait, we must understand that God's timing is for our benefit. We may not always understand it in the moment, but we will see the wisdom of his timing when everything unfolds. It's the difference between a rushed move and a move that is done with intention, purpose, and divine strategy. And that's how God works. Every move he makes is with the utmost care, and when he moves suddenly, it will be a move that shakes everything in the best possible way. God's timing doesn't just change circumstances, it changes us. God's movements are not random. They are divine setups. Every moment, every circumstance, and every delay is part of a greater plan that only God fully understands. When we experience challenges or setbacks, it's easy to feel like we're stuck in a cycle of frustration. But in reality, God is using every moment to position us for something greater. Often, we may not see it in the moment, but God is arranging divine moments, circumstances, people, opportunities that will align perfectly with His will for us. What seems like a delay or setback is actually God orchestrating things behind the scenes for our good. This means that you're never truly alone in your struggles. God is constantly setting things up, positioning people and preparing opportunities in ways that you cannot even see. You might be praying for something, asking for a breakthrough and feeling like nothing is happening, but trust me, God is arranging the pieces. He's moving things around so that when the time is right, everything will fall into place in a way that you could never have imagined. What you may see as a random event or a chance encounter, God sees as part of the divine orchestration. He's preparing your future in ways that are far beyond your understanding. There's a reason why the Bible tells us that God works all things together for the good of those who love Him. He's working in every detail, making sure that what you need will come to you at the right time. His movements are not haphazard. They are intentional. God is carefully positioning you, aligning you with His purpose, and setting things up for your breakthrough. Even the people in your life, the experiences you're having, and the doors that are being closed or opened are all part of a greater plan. And when that moment of sudden change comes, it will be the result of all those divine setups falling into place. God's divine setups are a reminder that we don't always see the bigger picture, but we can trust that God is working in every detail. It's like a puzzle where we only see one piece at a time, but He sees the whole picture. And when the time comes for God to move suddenly, it will be a seamless transition because He has already been at work behind the scenes. So even when things seem uncertain, hold on to the truth that God is positioning you for something great. He's making divine setups that will culminate in a sudden shift that will change everything. If you look closely at the stories in Scripture, you'll notice something incredible. God often moves suddenly when it seems like all hope is lost. He does not wait for us to figure it out, nor does He wait for the perfect conditions. In fact, many times God's greatest acts of intervention happen when everything seems impossible. Take the Israelites at the Red Sea, for example. They were trapped with nowhere to go. Pharaoh's army was closing in, and the sea was right in front of them. It was a moment that seemed like certain destruction. But then God moved suddenly. With a wave of His hand, He parted the Red Sea, and the Israelites were able to walk through on dry ground. They were saved, and God's power was displayed in an instant, at a moment when nothing seemed possible. Think about Lazarus. He had been dead for 4 days. His body was already decaying, and the mourners had already gathered. No one expected anything to happen at that point. But then Jesus arrived. At that moment, He called Lazarus out of the tomb, and a dead man came to life. It was a sudden move, a divine interruption that defied all human understanding. This wasn't a slow, drawn-out healing process. It was an immediate transformation that showed the raw power of God to do what we think is impossible. And what about the walls of Jericho? The Israelites had marched around the city for days, doing what seemed like an odd, ineffective task. They were told to walk around, blow trumpets, and remain silent. To any human observer, it looked foolish and ineffective. But on the seventh day, when they followed God's instructions to the letter, the walls fell. Suddenly, without warning, the entire city was taken by surprise, and the Israelites were given victory in a way that could only be attributed to God. These examples show us that God's greatest movements often come in moments of apparent hopelessness. When you are backed into a corner, when all your efforts have failed, when it looks like there is no way out, that's when God can move most powerfully. When we see no way forward, that's when he opens doors that we never thought could exist. And it's not just about timing. It's about how God works. He doesn't need to build up to his power. He doesn't need a long lead up. His power is immediate, decisive, and often comes when it seems most unlikely. What we must understand is that God doesn't need time to work. He doesn't need months or years to make things happen. He can do more in an instant than we can in a lifetime. We might wait and wait, wondering when God is going to act. But when he moves suddenly, it will happen in a moment that will change everything. This isn't just a matter of timing. It's a matter of God's ability to act in ways that transcend our understanding of what's possible. When God moves, it's not gradual, it's radical. It's a divine shift that turns everything upside down, and it's done so powerfully that it's So when you're in a place of waiting, remember these as examples. When God moves suddenly, everything changes. What seemed impossible will become possible. What looks like defeat will turn into victory. The power of God intervene at just the right moment is not something bound by the limitations of our human understanding. And when he moves suddenly in your life, it will be evident that it was his hand all along. Even when it feels like nothing is happening, even when you feel stuck in a season of waiting, God is still working behind the scenes. We often mistake silence or delay in response for inactivity, but in reality, God is always at work, preparing, positioning, and aligning things for the moment of his sudden move. It's important to remember that just because we can't see or feel his activity doesn't mean he's not actively engaged in the process. God operates in ways that we cannot always perceive, and his work often goes unnoticed until the moment is right. But trust this, even when nothing seems to be happening, God is setting the stage for your breakthrough. He is working in ways that are invisible to the human eye, moving things, people, and circumstances into place to ensure that when his moment comes, everything will unfold perfectly. This is why we must learn to trust in the unseen. While we are busy waiting, frustrated by the lack of visible progress, God is preparing us. He's building our character, strengthening our faith, and positioning us in the right place at the right time. This process of preparation often takes longer than we expect because God is ensuring that we're not only ready to receive the blessing, but that we are able to sustain it and handle the responsibility that comes with it. The waiting period is never wasted. It's a time of refinement and growth. God uses the waiting to cultivate patience, perseverance, and trust, which are all essential when the sudden move of God comes. You may feel like you've been praying and praying, but your answer is still delayed. You may have been working hard, trying to make progress, but everything seems to be stuck in place. But remember this, God's delay is not denial. His timing is never off. He's working on things you cannot see, lining up people, opportunities, and circumstances that are beyond your control. He's doing things that are preparing you for a shift that will be so great, so powerful, that it will be worth every moment of waiting. The delay isn't a sign of rejection. It's a sign of preparation. Think about the process of planting a seed. A farmer doesn't just throw a seed in the ground and expect it to sprout instantly. No, the seed goes through a process of growth that is unseen by the human eye. For weeks, months, or even years, the seed is working its way beneath the surface, gathering the necessary nutrients and developing the roots it needs to sustain its future growth. In the same way, God is allowing things to grow beneath the surface in your life where you may not be able to see it, but when the moment is right and the conditions are perfect, that seed will burst forth and produce something incredible. In the waiting, God is developing your capacity for the breakthrough. He's preparing you in ways that you may not fully understand yet. The sudden move of God doesn't just happen randomly. It's preceded by preparation. You are being equipped for the blessings that are on the way. The delay is part of God's loving preparation process. And it's in that waiting time that you are growing stronger, wiser, and more capable of handling the greatness that He is about to release into your life. So when you feel like nothing is happening, remember that God is never idle. He's always working in the background, preparing you, the situation, and everything around you. He is actively aligning everything so that when His moment comes, it will be a perfect and powerful manifestation of His will. And when that sudden shift happens, you'll see that every second of waiting was part of His divine plan. Every delay, every silent moment was leading up to a breakthrough that will change everything. God's work may not always be visible, but it is always intentional and always leading to something greater. When God moves suddenly, it's not just about the breakthrough itself. It's also about His timing and how that timing aligns with your destiny. God's timing is impeccable. He knows exactly when the moment is right for your breakthrough to manifest. This timing may not always match our expectations or desires. We often think that we know when things should happen, and we can become impatient when things don't unfold according to our plan. But God's timing is perfect. He knows the right moment to move, the exact conditions that need to be in place, and the precise people that need to be in your life for that sudden shift to occur. Sometimes we look at our situation and think, why is this taking so long? Why does it feel like I've been waiting forever? It's easy to become frustrated with the process, especially when we feel like we're ready for a breakthrough, but it hasn't come yet. However, in those moments, we need to remind ourselves that God is never late and He's never early. He is always on time. The reason for this is simple. His timing is directly tied to the purpose He has for us. He doesn't act randomly. He moves when everything is perfectly aligned for your benefit. He knows exactly when you will be ready and when the people, the opportunities, and the resources will come together to make that breakthrough happen. You see, there are moments in life when God's sudden move is not just about the moment itself. It's about everything that led up to it. Think about a storm. Before the rain falls and the winds pick up, the conditions have been building up slowly, unseen by the naked eye. And when the moment finally arrives, the storm appears suddenly, but it has been in the making for a long time. In the same way, God's sudden move is often the result of a long process of preparation, both in your life and in the world around you. What we perceive as a sudden change is often the culmination of God's perfect timing and the culmination of all the preparation that has been happening beneath the surface. This is where trust becomes so important. When you're waiting for a sudden move of God, you have to trust that He's working behind the scenes, orchestrating everything to happen at just the right time. You may not see all the pieces being put into place, and you may not understand why certain things are happening at the moment, but trust that everything is aligning for your benefit. God is using every experience, every delay, every person, and every moment to set up the perfect timing for your breakthrough. And when that timing comes, it will feel sudden. It will feel like everything happens at once. The doors that were once closed will fly open. The opportunities you've been waiting for will suddenly materialize. The relationships you've been praying for will be restored or come into your life. God's sudden moves are powerful because they show us that His timing is always perfect. When God moves, it's never too soon and it's never too late. It's exactly when you need it and exactly when He knows you will be ready to receive it. So when you're in the waiting room of your life, understand that God is carefully crafting the perfect moment for you. He's arranging the pieces of your life with precision and care, making sure that everything aligns for the best possible outcome. When that sudden move comes, you realize that every single moment of waiting, every moment of uncertainty was part of God's divine plan. His timing is flawless. And when he moves, you'll see the wisdom of his perfect timing unfold before you in ways you never imagined. When God moves suddenly, he often disrupts our natural order, challenging our understanding and expectations. We tend to think that breakthroughs must come in a gradual, predictable way. We look for signs and we try to anticipate the moment of change, but God's sudden moves are not always preceded by what we expect. In fact, he often operates in ways that disrupt our normal patterns of thinking and living, forcing us to reconsider our assumptions about what is possible. This disruption is not something to fear. It's a sign that God is doing something new, something beyond our capacity to control or comprehend. It's a sign that he is stepping into our situation in a way that will change everything. And when he does not ask for our permission or approval. He simply moves. This is exactly what happened with the disciples when they were in the boat on the Sea of Galilee. A great storm arose and they were terrified, thinking they were about to drown. But then suddenly Jesus appeared, walking on the water. The storm didn't stop immediately, but his presence changed everything. His sudden intervention disrupted their natural understanding of how the world worked. They were used to seeing people walking on land, not on water. And yet here was Jesus defying every known law of nature. His sudden move brought peace to their hearts, and it revealed something greater than just a physical miracle. It showed that God's ways are not our ways, and his thoughts are not our thoughts. When God moves suddenly, he often takes us outside the boundaries of our human limitations, demonstrating that he operates on a level far beyond our understanding. This disruption isn't always a quiet, gentle process. It may come with a shaking, a sudden shift, or even a season of uncertainty. But we must understand that God's sudden movements are intended to challenge us and grow us. We often become so comfortable with our routines, our expectations, and the way we think things should go. But God doesn't always work within the boundaries of our comfort zones. He's willing to disrupt our lives to get our attention, to remind us that he's in control and to lead us to greater things. The sudden move of God is not something to be feared. It's something to embrace because it signifies a turning point in our lives. Take, for example, the story of the Apostle Paul. Before his dramatic encounter with Jesus on the road to Damascus, he was a staunch persecutor of Christians. He was certain of his path and his understanding of God's will. But then, in an instant, God disrupted everything. A bright light flashed, and Paul was struck blind. This was not a gradual process. It was a sudden, dramatic shift in his life. In that moment, Paul's entire perspective was changed, and the course of his life was altered forever. His disruption led him to a new understanding of God's purpose for his life, and he became one of the greatest apostles to ever live. God's sudden moves often force us to shift our perspectives and challenge what we think we know. We might think we have everything figured out, but God's ways will always exceed our understanding. This disruption can feel uncomfortable at first, but it's in those moments of discomfort that we grow. It's in those moments of disruption that we are reminded that we are not in control, and that's exactly where God wants us to be. He's not asking us to have it all figured out. He's asking us to trust in his perfect plan and timing, even when it doesn't make sense. When God moves suddenly, he also invites us to step out in faith. Just like Peter stepped out of the boat to walk on the water toward Jesus, we too are called to step out of our comfort zones and trust that God will provide what we need. The sudden moves of God are often opportunities for us to walk by faith, to let go of our own plans, and to embrace the new thing He is doing. It's in these moments of disruption that we discover the depth of God's power, and we are transformed by His sudden life. So when you experience a disruption in your life, when it feels like everything you know is being shaken, don't panic. This is often when God is about to make a move that will shift everything. He's not interested in keeping you comfortable. He's interested in making you stronger, wiser, and more reliant on His power. Embrace the disruption, because the sudden move of God also has the power to bring unexpected favor into our lives. When God decides to intervene suddenly, it's not just a matter of changing circumstances or providing what we think we need. Often, His sudden moves involve pouring out favor that we never anticipated or could have earned through our own efforts. This favor, which comes without warning, is a sign of God's grace and His love for us. It's something that we do not deserve, but He chooses to bless us with it anyway because of His goodness and His desire to see us prosper in ways we could never achieve on our own. God's favor doesn't just open doors. It often opens doors that we thought were closed forever, or doors that we didn't even know existed. His favor transcends human understanding and has the power to accelerate progress in ways that defy natural logic. Think about the story of Esther. She was a young woman who found herself in an impossible situation, living in exile, facing the threat of genocide against her people. Yet when the time was right, God moved suddenly in her favor. She was chosen to be queen. And when the moment came, her position was used to save her people from destruction. Esther could not have planned for that. She was just a young woman with no royal background, yet God's favor placed her in a position of influence. And with it, she was able to execute a plan that saved her people. This wasn't a gradual process. It was a sudden shift in her life, one that brought favor in ways she never expected. God's favor is often unexpected and unexplainable. It's not something we can earn through our actions or anticipate through our own planning. It's a gift that comes at the perfect time, in the perfect way, to propel us forward into the destiny that God has prepared for us. This is what makes the sudden move of God so powerful. When He moves, He doesn't just provide what we ask for. He gives us favor that surpasses our expectations. Favor that opens doors and creates opportunities that were previously out of reach. It's important to note that God's favor isn't always about material gain. It can also show up in relationships, in wisdom, in divine connections, and in opportunities that are designed to bring about a greater purpose in your life. Sometimes favor looks like someone giving you an opportunity that changes the trajectory of your career. Other times it's finding yourself in the right place at the right time, meeting the right people who will become pivotal in your journey. And sometimes it's even about God favoring you with peace and strength in difficult circumstances, enabling you to handle challenges that would normally overwhelm you. The story of Joseph is another powerful example of how God's favor works in sudden ways. Joseph was sold into slavery by his brothers, falsely accused and thrown into prison. From the outside, it looked like his life was spiraling downward. Yet in a sudden moment, God moved him from the prison to the palace. One moment he was in a place of despair, and the next he was second in command over all of Egypt. This sudden shift wasn't a result of Joseph's efforts. It was purely the favor of God moving him into his destiny. The favor of God doesn't always make sense to the world, but it's often what positions us for our divine purpose in ways that are far greater than we could have imagined. When God moves suddenly, He is also setting the stage for favor that will overflow into every area of our lives. This favor not only impacts us, but it also touches those around us. Just as the favor of God on Esther's life saved her people, or Joseph's favor helped an entire nation survive a famine, the favor that God pours out on us often has a ripple effect that extends far beyond what we can see in the moment. God's favor isn't just for us, it's meant to bless others and bring glory to his name. In times of uncertainty or struggle, when things seem difficult or impossible, remember that God's favor is still at work. It might not be evident right now, but the moment of his sudden move could bring favor into your life that will change everything. This is why we must stay faithful and trust that God's plan is always working in our favor. His favor is powerful, unpredictable, and always timely. When the moment is right, God's favor will break through and position us for success, abundance, and divine opportunity. All of this will be done according to his will and his perfect timing. When God decides to move suddenly, it's a reminder that his favor is not earned but given by his grace. And when that favor comes, it's like a wind that propels us forward into the fullness of the life he has promised. When God moves suddenly, he also brings clarity in the midst of confusion. In the times of uncertainty, when we feel lost or uncertain about our next step, it can seem as though the path ahead is clouded. We often find ourselves questioning what God is doing, why things are taking so long, or why certain doors seem closed. But in those moments, when God decides to move, he brings a sudden clarity that cuts through the fog of confusion. This clarity isn't always about having every detail explained. It's a deep sense of knowing that God is in control and that he is guiding us to exactly where we need to be. This clarity goes beyond our human understanding and touches our spirit, affirming that we are not lost and that God's hand is leading us in the right direction. One of the most profound examples of God bringing sudden clarity is found in the story of the Apostle Paul. Paul, once Saul, was a man who was zealous in his persecution of Christians. He believed he was doing the right thing, but his understanding was clouded by his own misconceptions and beliefs. Then, on the road to Damascus, God moved suddenly. A bright light surrounded him, and a voice spoke, calling him to a higher purpose. This moment of divine intervention gave Paul the clarity he needed to see the truth about who Jesus was and who he was meant to be. Before this moment, Paul thought he was acting in accordance with God's will, but in that instant, God's sudden move shifted his entire perspective. That clarity came in a flash, and it was so powerful that it changed the trajectory of his life. From that moment forward, Paul became one of the most influential apostles of the Christian faith, spreading the gospel to countless people across the world. Just like Paul, we often operate under certain misconceptions or assumptions about our lives. We might think we know what's best, and we may be moving in directions that feel right in the moment. But God, in his perfect timing, moves suddenly to give us clarity. His clarity doesn't always mean that we will understand everything immediately. It doesn't mean that we will have all the answers or that the road ahead will be smooth. But it does mean that we will have a sense of peace, a deep knowing in our hearts that God is guiding us, even if the way forward is not yet fully visible. It's the kind of clarity that allows us to take the next step in faith, trusting that God is leading us exactly where we need to be. Sometimes God's sudden clarity comes when we're at a crossroads, uncertain about which decision to make. We might be facing a choice in our relationships, our careers, or our personal lives, and the options seem overwhelming. But when God moves suddenly, he brings clarity that shines a light on the right path. It's like a light bulb turning on in the darkness, helping us see what was once hidden. This clarity doesn't come through our own reasoning or analysis. It comes from a place of deep trust in God's sovereignty. We might not have all the details, but we know that he is with us and that he will direct our steps in the right direction. Another way God brings clarity is by removing distractions that keep us from hearing his voice clearly. In our busy, noisy lives, it can be difficult to hear God's whispers and discern his guidance. But when he moves suddenly, he has a way of quieting the noise and removing the distractions that stand in the way of his voice. It's as if the clutter and confusion that once surrounded us are cleared away, and we are left with a renewed sense of focus and purpose. In these moments, God helps us refocus on what truly matters, on the path he has set before us, and on the calling he has placed on our lives. Clarity also brings us the ability to see past the temporary circumstances of our lives and understand the bigger picture. We might be going through a season of struggle or hardship, and in those moments, it can be hard to see how anything good could come out of it. But when God moves suddenly, he gives us the clarity to see that these temporary struggles are part of a greater plan. He shows us that our pain is not in vain, that our waiting is not pointless, and that every step we take, even the difficult ones, is leading us to something greater. In those moments of clarity, we understand that God is working all things together for our good, even when we cannot fully comprehend how. The sudden clarity that God provides often gives us the courage to step forward in faith. When we know that we are in alignment with God's will, we are able to move forward confidently, even if the path ahead is not fully mapped out. It's like walking in the dark with the light of God's clarity guiding us, step by step. We may not see the entire journey, but we trust that God does. And that is enough. When he brings clarity, he also equips us with the strength to act on what he has revealed to us. So if you're in a season of confusion, or if you feel like you're not sure where God is leading you, remember that his sudden move can bring clarity in the midst of the fog. You may not have all the answers right now, but trust that God is moving in your life to bring about the clarity you need. When he moves suddenly, he doesn't just give you answers. He gives you peace, understanding, and the confidence to move forward in his perfect timing. When God moves suddenly, he doesn't just shift circumstances, he transforms hearts. In a world filled with distractions, pain, and hurt, the most profound transformation we can experience is a change within us. It's easy to focus on external circumstances, on the changes in our jobs, our relationships, or our health. But the real miracle happens when God moves in our hearts, altering the way we think, feel, and respond to life. Often we think of God's sudden moves as answers to prayers, financial breakthroughs, or healing, but sometimes his most significant work is the quiet transformation that takes place inside of us when we least expect it. This is the work of God that doesn't necessarily require a dramatic outward display, but rather think about the story of the Apostle Peter. Peter was passionate, outspoken, and often acted impulsively. He loved Jesus, but he also had flaws. His fears and insecurities often led him to make decisions that later filled him with regret. After the crucifixion of Jesus, Peter was broken and disheartened. He had denied Jesus 3 times, and in his mind, he believed he had failed too greatly to be restored. Yet, after Jesus' resurrection, there was a sudden move. Jesus called Peter, asking him 3 times, "Do you love me?" In that moment, Jesus didn't just restore Peter's position as a disciple. He transformed Peter's heart. He took away the shame, the guilt, and the fear that had gripped Peter for so long. He gave Peter a renewed sense of purpose, a heart of courage, and the strength to lead the early church. This sudden move wasn't just about restoring Peter's ministry. It was about healing and transforming his heart. Jesus moved suddenly, and Peter's heart was forever changed. He went from a man who was afraid of being associated with Jesus to a bold leader who would stand before crowds and boldly proclaim the gospel. God's transformation of our hearts often happens in those moments when we are at our lowest, when we feel the most unworthy, and when we feel like we reach the end of our rope. It's in those moments when we're ready to give up that God steps in to remind us that he is not finished with us yet. His love is greater than our mistakes, and when he moves suddenly, he changes the trajectory of our lives by changing the way we see ourselves and our circumstances. And this transformation allows us to walk in a new identity, free from the burdens of guilt, shame, or fear that may have held us back for years. This transformation in the heart also enables us to see others differently. Often we walk through life with hardened hearts, judgment and bitterness because of past hurts. But when God moves suddenly in our hearts, he gives us the ability to forgive and to love in ways we never thought possible. The same way he forgave us, he empowers us to forgive others. When God transforms our hearts, he softens them, removing the walls that once kept us distant from others. This change doesn't happen through our own effort. It's a supernatural work that God does within us, making us more like him. Through this heart transformation, we are able to extend grace and mercy even to those who have wronged us, because we recognize the power of God's forgiveness in our own lives. Moreover, when God transforms our hearts, he fills us with a renewed passion for his will. Sometimes we go through seasons where our faith feels dry, where we are disconnected from our purpose, or where we question our direction in life. But when God moves suddenly, he reignites our hearts with a desire to serve him. The same way a spark turns into a fire, God's sudden move within us ignites a renewed passion and zeal to follow his call. In those moments, we find ourselves loving God in ways we never thought possible, desiring to walk in obedience and purpose, and willing to step out in faith to fulfill the calling he has placed on our lives. This transformation in our hearts brings a fresh perspective, a deeper commitment to the things of God, and an unshakable faith that enables us to press forward in difficult times. God's sudden move in our hearts also brings freedom from fear and insecurity. It's often the fear of failure, rejection, or inadequacy that keeps us from stepping into our destiny. But when God transforms our hearts, he replaces that fear with boldness, courage, and confidence. We no longer live in the shadows of our past mistakes or the opinions of others. Instead, we stand confidently in who we are in Christ. This freedom allows us to live fully, to pursue our dreams, and to step out into the unknown without the paralyzing fear that once held us back. This sudden heart transformation is what enables us to embrace our true identity and walk in the fullness of the life God has designed for us. In addition, when God moves suddenly in our hearts, he fills us with a deep, unshakable peace. Life is full of challenges, and it's easy to be overwhelmed by the chaos that surrounds us. But God's transformation within us brings peace that surpasses understanding. A peace that isn't dependent on our circumstances, but on the presence of God within us. This peace allows us to face life's trials with a calm assurance, knowing that God is in control and that he is working everything out for our good. This inner peace is one of the most powerful signs of God's sudden transformation, because it gives us the strength to endure, to trust, and to keep moving forward no matter what we face. So when God moves suddenly in your life, understand that it's not just about changing your circumstances, it's about changing you. He's transforming your heart, healing your wounds, replacing your fears with faith, and filling you with a renewed passion to live for him. And when your heart is transformed, you will never be the same again. When God moves suddenly, he often surprises us with a shift in our mindset. Many of us walk through life with limited thinking, constrained by what we've known, what we've been taught, or the limitations others have placed on us. We may have a small view of what is possible, believing that our circumstances define our future, or that we are bound by the situations we find ourselves in. But when God moves suddenly, he challenges those limitations and broadens our perspective. He opens our minds to the vastness of his possibilities. showing us there is no such thing as a hopeless situation, that there are no limits to what he can do in our lives. Think about the story of the Israelites when they were trapped at the Red Sea. They were facing what seemed to be an insurmountable obstacle. Pharaoh's army was closing in behind them, and ahead of them was nothing but an impassable sea. It was a moment of desperation. In the natural, they were doomed. There was no way out, but God moved suddenly. He parted the Red Sea, allowing his people to walk through on dry ground. In that moment, God did more than just create a path through the sea. He changed the way his people thought about their circumstances. He demonstrated that their limitations were not defined by the natural world, but by their faith in him. What seemed impossible was made possible, not by their own strength, but by God's mighty power. This sudden move of God didn't just change their external circumstances. It transformed their mindset. Before that moment, they were focused on their helplessness, their inability to change their situation. But when God moved suddenly, they were forced to think beyond their limitations. They were forced to see that with God, all things are possible. The God who could part the Red Sea could do anything. This shift in thinking didn't just prepare them for the miraculous escape from Egypt. It was a mindset shift that empowered them to face future challenges with a renewed sense of faith and possibility. Likewise, God's sudden moves in our lives often come to challenge the small thinking that has held us back. Many of us have been conditioned by our experiences, by failures, or by the opinions of others to believe that we are limited. We may believe that we can't achieve our dreams because of past mistakes, lack of resources, or the obstacles we face. But when God moves suddenly, he shows us that there are no limits to what he can do. He opens our eyes to new possibilities and gives us the courage to think bigger, to dream higher, and to step out into the unknown with the confidence that he will provide the way. For example, think about the story of David and Goliath. David was just a young shepherd, and Goliath was a giant, a seasoned warrior with an entire army behind him. In the natural, it seemed impossible for David to defeat Goliath. But when David stepped out in faith, trusting that God was with him, he defeated Goliath with nothing more than a sling and a stone. This was not just a victory over a giant, it was a victory over small thinking. David didn't see himself as a weak shepherd boy. He saw himself as a warrior equipped by God. He understood that his victory wasn't determined by the size of his opponent, but by the size of his God. When God moves suddenly, he shifts our mindset from one of limitation to one of possibility, showing us that we can face any challenge, no matter how big. Because we are not operating in our own strength, but in God's. There are moments in life when we feel a nudge in our spirit, a quiet voice in the depths of our heart that we often choose to ignore. It's a moment of discomfort, a moment of reflection, but also a moment of decision. God does not scream at us, he whispers. His warnings are subtle, but they are profound. He uses the circumstances around us, the people in our lives, and the very challenges we face to signal that something needs our attention. When God is trying to warn you, he is not trying to scare you, he's trying to protect you. Many of us have faced situations where we felt uneasy, yet we dismissed it as overthinking. But let me tell you, when that feeling persists, when that restlessness won't go away, God is trying to get your attention. It might be about a decision you're making, a relationship you're in, or even the path you're walking. He is not silent, and he never leaves us without a way out. But often we are too distracted to notice the signs. We are too busy chasing after our desires, ignoring the fact that the very thing we are pursuing may be the thing that destroys us. You may be on the verge of a decision, and everything looks perfect on the surface. The opportunity seems like the answer to your prayers, but deep down, there's a tug in your spirit saying, wait, pause, look again. That is God's warning. The problem is we are often so focused on what we want that we overlook what we need. God will always warn you before you enter dangerous territory, but it is up to you to listen. The storms in your life are not always a punishment. Sometimes they are a warning. They are meant to shake you, to wake you up before it's too late. Sometimes God will allow you to face temporary discomfort to prevent you from permanent destruction. Don't despise the struggle, because within that struggle is a message. He is trying to reroute you, to realign you, because he sees what you cannot see. When doors start closing, when relationships start breaking down, when plans begin to fall apart, don't see it as a failure. See it as God's hand pulling you away from something that could harm you. What feels like rejection could very well be your protection. Pay attention to the patterns in your life, to the repetition of events, because God will keep giving you the same message until you heed it. The signs are there, but are you looking? There are times when the people around you are placed there as messengers. They may speak a word of caution, a word of wisdom, but if you're not tuned into what God is saying through them, you'll miss the message. Don't be so quick to dismiss advice that makes you uncomfortable. Often the truth that stings is the truth that saves. God's warnings are not burdens, they are blessings in disguise. He is not trying to take anything from you, but to lead you to a place where you can truly thrive. When he warns you, it's because he loves you too much to let you go down a path that would lead to your downfall. You may not understand the why right now, but trust in his wisdom. His vision is not limited like ours. He sees the end from the beginning, and he knows where each step will lead. When God speaks, it's not always in a loud or dramatic way. Often, his voice is quiet, a gentle whisper that touches the deepest parts of our spirit. He moves through the circumstances of our daily lives, through the people we encounter, and even through the inner nudges that we sometimes ignore. It's not always obvious, but his warnings are real, and they are meant to guide us away from danger. God's communication is layered. He might use a closed door, a lost opportunity, or a relationship that starts to feel uncomfortable as signals that something needs our attention. The subtlety of his warnings can be easy to miss if we are not sensitive to his spirit. We may dismiss it as a mere coincidence or a fleeting feeling, but that's where the danger lies. God's warnings are not random. They are intentional and specific. He doesn't scream at us because he wants us to grow in spiritual maturity, to tune into his presence, to recognize his voice even in the stillness. When you feel that tug in your spirit, when you sense something isn't right, that is often God's way of saying, pay attention. I'm trying to tell you something. God never stops speaking, but the question is, are we listening? Sometimes we are too focused on our own plans, our desires and ambitions that we become deaf to his voice. But he continues to guide, using those gentle nudges, that quiet discomfort to steer us back on the right path. The problem is, we often want God's voice to match our expectations. We want clarity in the form of bold signs, but God uses whispers. And those whispers carry profound truth, the kind that can change our lives if we are willing to hear it. Be still and know that I am God, Psalm 46:10. My sheep listen to my voice, I know them, and they follow me, John 10:27. When God warns you, it's not to bring fear into your heart. His warnings are not threats, but expressions of his deep love and protection. He knows what lies ahead beyond what you can see, and because of that, he steps in to guide you away from harm. God's purpose is never to leave you in a state of anxiety or confusion. His warnings are not designed to paralyze you with worry, but to prepare you and to steer you in the right direction. We often misunderstand warnings as something negative, but in God's plan, a warning is a form of grace. It's his way of saying, I see what's coming, and I want to safeguard you from it. Think about a parent guiding their child away from danger. The parent doesn't yell out of anger, but out of love and concern. In the same way, God's voice comes to you with care, not to restrict your life, but to lead you to a place of safety and blessing. He sees the potential pitfalls, the temptations and the threats that could derail your destiny. So he says a warning, not as punishment, but as a shield. Sometimes his warnings are uncomfortable because they pull us away from things we think we want. But God is always more concerned with what you need. His wisdom is far beyond ours. He knows that while something might look good on the surface, it could be destructive in the long run. The warning may feel like a loss in the moment, but it's really an invitation to something greater. He's not trying to keep you from joy. He's protecting you from harm so you can experience the fullness of life he has in store for you. That feeling of restlessness in your spirit, the one you can't seem to shake, it's not just a random thought or a fleeting emotion. It's a signal from God. When you find yourself wrestling with an inner unease, it's often God trying to get your attention. He doesn't always speak through dramatic signs or loud voices. Many times he communicates through the quiet discomfort that lingers within you, urging you to stop, reflect, and take notice of what's happening around you. You may be in the middle of making a decision and everything seems fine on the surface, but deep down, there's something in your spirit that's unsettled. That's not something to ignore. God uses that uneasiness to alert you to something that your natural eyes cannot see. He is trying to show you that there's more going on beneath the surface, that the path you're considering might not be as smooth as it appears. This restlessness is his way of saying, pause. Take a closer look. There's danger ahead. Too often, we are quick to dismiss this inner stirring, thinking it's just a moment of doubt or overthinking. But when that feeling doesn't go away, when it keeps rising up in your heart, it's time to listen. God is trying to protect you from stepping into something that could bring harm or derail your purpose. He knows what you do not, and his spirit will always try to alert you before you move in the wrong direction. That restlessness is not confusion, it's clarity. It's God guiding you, warning you to pay attention before it's too late. One of the greatest dangers we face is distraction. In a world that's constantly pulling us in different directions, it's easy to become so focused on our own plans and desires that we miss the voice of God. We're chasing success, pursuing relationships, and striving to achieve what we think will make us happy, but in the process, we can become blind to the subtle ways God is trying to warn us. Distraction is a powerful tool of the enemy because it keeps us so preoccupied with what we want that we ignore what God is saying. God's warnings are often gentle, quiet, and easy to overlook when we're caught up in the noise of life. When we're too focused on what we think we need or where we believe we should be going, we risk pushing aside the very guidance that could save us from heartache. We become so consumed with our personal goals that we miss the signs God places in our path, signs that are meant to steer us away from harm. And by the time we realize we've missed his warning, we may already be deep in a situation we could have avoided. The distractions we face are not always bad things in themselves. Sometimes it's the pursuit of something good that blinds us to the best. We can be so determined to reach a particular goal or hold on to a certain relationship that we overlook the restlessness in our spirit, the closed doors, or the challenges that God is using to get our attention. God is never silent, but we have to be still enough to hear him. When you're running after your own desires, you can easily drown out the sound of his voice. But in his love and mercy, he continues to send warnings, hoping that we will finally pause long enough to hear and obey. Sometimes the storms and struggles we face are not signs of punishment, but are warnings from God. They are moments allowed by him to wake us up, to shake us from the path we're walking on before it leads to something far worse. God knows that if he doesn't interrupt our course, we could end up in a place of deep destruction. So instead of letting us continue down that road, he sends storms not to destroy us, but to redirect us. We often ask, why am I going through this? Why is everything falling apart? But what we fail to see is that God, in his infinite wisdom, allows certain difficulties because he's trying to protect us from greater harm. The temporary discomfort you are experiencing might be the very thing that saves you from long-term disaster. God knows how to use challenges to catch our attention, to make us stop and reassess the direction we're heading. It may feel like a loss, but it's really a lifeline. The storm may cause you to pause, to slow down, or to let go of something you've been holding onto tightly. It may even bring you to your knees, but that's not the end. It's the beginning of a new direction. God uses these moments to refine you, to strip away what doesn't belong, and to realign you with his purpose. He is more concerned with your future than your present comfort. The struggle you're facing is often a sign that God is saying, there's danger ahead, and I need to turn you around. Too often we resist the very struggle that is meant to save us. We fight against it, trying to return to the path that God is pulling us away from. But in his love, he allows the storm to continue until we finally listen. It's not the easy times that shape us, but the difficult ones, and within those difficulties lies a message. God is trying to redirect your steps before you reach a point where you can't turn back. The struggle is a sign that he's still watching, still guiding, still protecting you, even when you don't understand. When doors start closing in your life, when the plans you've carefully made begin to fall apart, it's easy to feel frustrated or disappointed. But what if those closed doors are God's way of protecting you from something you can't yet see? What if the relationships that are breaking down, the opportunities that seem to slip through your fingers, are actually God's hand at work, guiding you away from danger? Often, what we perceive as failure or rejection is really divine protection. God knows what lies ahead. He sees the traps, the obstacles, and the pitfalls that could derail your purpose. And sometimes in His wisdom, He shuts doors that we are desperate to walk through. It's not because He wants to withhold something good from you, but because He has something better or safer in mind. The path you thought was right, the opportunity you believed was perfect, may have hidden dangers that only God can see. And out of His love for you, He redirects your steps, even when it doesn't make sense at the moment. We often try to force things to happen, pushing against closed doors and insisting that we know what's best. But what we fail to understand is that a closed door is sometimes the greatest act of mercy. God is not in the business of leading you into failure. When He removes certain people from your life, when He closes opportunities that seem ideal, it's because He's shielding you from something that could harm you. He knows the plans He has for you, plans to prosper you, not to harm you. Instead of fighting against the closed doors, we need to start seeing them as signs of God's care. He's not rejecting you, He's redirecting you. What feels like loss is often a way to prevent something worse. What seems like a setback is really a setup for something greater. Trust that God knows what's best for your life, even when it feels like things are falling apart. When God closes a door, He's protecting you from a path that could lead to destruction. The very thing you think you're missing out on might be the thing that would have caused you the most harm. God often uses the people around us as instruments of His warning. He places individuals in our lives who can speak truth into our situations, people who may challenge our decisions or offer counsel that makes us uncomfortable. It's essential to recognize that these voices are not just random, they can be divine messengers sent to guide us when we might be veering off course. The challenge lies in our willingness to listen and heed the advice offered. Sometimes we dismiss the insights or warnings from those close to us because they don't align with our own desires or perspectives. We might think, what do they know about my situation, or they don't understand what I'm going through. But God often speaks through those who love us, through friends, family, or even colleagues who can see things from a different angle. Their warnings may come in the form of concern for our well-being, urging us to reconsider a choice we're making or to take a step back when they sense we're moving too quickly. We have to understand that God's truth doesn't always come in a neat package. Sometimes it arrives as tough love or straightforward advice that may sting a little. It's easy to reject what we don't want to hear, but when we do that, we risk ignoring the very message God is sending us. God cares deeply about our future, and He often places people in our lives who can help illuminate the path, especially when we are too blinded by our own ambitions to see clearly. Recognizing the voice of God through others requires humility and an open heart. We need to be willing to accept that we might not have all the answers, that our understanding may be limited. It's crucial to create an environment where we can receive feedback, where we can ask for counsel and genuinely consider what others are saying. Their words may be the warning we need to turn away from a dangerous path or to reconsider a relationship that isn't healthy. In moments of uncertainty, it's beneficial to surround yourself with wise counsel, to seek the opinions of those who have your best interests at heart. They may see warning signs that you have overlooked. Remember, God has designed us to live in community, to support one another, and sometimes that support comes in the form of a gentle nudge or a hard truth spoken by a trusted friend. When you are willing to listen to the voices around you, you open yourself up to receiving the guidance that God is trying to provide. Don't let pride or fear keep you from recognizing the messengers He has placed in your life. They may very well be the voice of God warning you to change course before it's too late. Repetition in our lives can often serve as a divine alert system, a way for God to emphasize His messages when we may not be paying attention. If you find yourself experiencing the same challenges or facing similar situations repeatedly, it's essential to pause and ask yourself what God might be trying to communicate. The tendency to overlook these patterns can lead us down paths that could ultimately cause harm or hinder our growth. God's warnings are often persistent, coming through the same themes, experiences, or interactions until we finally acknowledge and address them. Consider how God may use recurring events as a sign that something is amiss. Perhaps you've noticed a pattern in relationships that consistently lead to hurt or disappointment. This could be God trying to highlight an underlying issue, whether it's a boundary that needs to be set or a lesson you need to learn. Each time you encounter a similar situation, it serves as a reminder to reflect on your choices and behaviors. God uses these repetitions to reveal the truth about your circumstances and to encourage you to take action. Furthermore, these repeated experiences can be a form of divine mercy. God doesn't want you to keep facing the same struggles without understanding the root cause. He patiently waits for you to notice the signs, to connect the dots, and to seek His guidance on how to break the cycle. If you ignore these patterns, you risk walking the same road of pain without learning the valuable lessons God is trying to teach you. It's as if He is saying, look closer, this is important. I'm trying to guide you toward a better way. Additionally, sometimes the repetition serves to awaken you from complacency. It can be easy to become comfortable in our routines and accept certain situations as just a part of life. But God uses recurring challenges to stir you from that comfort, to provoke you to seek His will more diligently. When you find yourself facing the same trials, take a moment to reflect on the deeper message behind them. What is God trying to reveal to you about yourself? What adjustments does He want you to make? It's essential to view these repetitions not just as obstacles, but as invitations for growth. God's warnings may come in the form of these cycles to show you that He is actively involved in your life, seeking to refine you and lead you to a place of understanding and healing. Each repetition is a chance for you to respond, to turn your heart toward Him, and to realign your path with His divine purpose. By acknowledging and embracing these patterns, you allow God to work within you, to guide you away from what does not serve you, and to open your eyes to the better things He has in store. The moments of silence or stillness in our lives can be powerful indicators of God's warnings. In our fast-paced world, we often fill our lives with noise, distractions from technology, conversations, and the hustle of daily routines. But in that cacophony, we may miss the quiet voice of God trying to reach us. Silence is not merely the absence of sound. It can be a sacred space where God whispers truths that require our attention. When you find yourself in moments of stillness, take them seriously. God may be inviting you to reflect, to listen, and to discern what He's trying to communicate. In these quiet moments, God often reveals deeper insights about our lives. He may bring to light concerns that we have been ignoring, prompting us to examine our choices, relationships, or priorities. Silence gives us the opportunity to confront what we often push aside in the busyness of life. It's in these pauses that God can bring clarity to our minds and peace to our hearts. When we quiet the external noise, we can hear His gentle reminders and warnings. Moreover, silence can serve as a moment of reflection on our relationship with God. Are there areas in your life where you've been resistant to His guidance? Are you trying to move forward without seeking His direction? When God brings silence into your life, it's a call to evaluate your spiritual walk. It's an invitation to deepen your relationship with Him, to seek understanding, and to align your will with His. Embracing these moments can lead to profound breakthroughs and a renewed sense of purpose. In addition, consider how silence allows us to develop sensitivity to the Holy Spirit. When we make a habit of seeking moments of quiet, we train ourselves to recognize the subtle prompts of God. The Holy Spirit communicates not only through Scripture, but also through impressions and convictions that often require us to be still and attentive. When you dedicate time to listen, you cultivate a space where God can reveal His heart and intentions for your life. God's warnings may come through silence as He gently urges us to slow down and consider the direction we're headed. It's a moment where He may be saying, stop and think. Are you on the right path? What adjustments do you need to make? By acknowledging the significance of silence and choosing to embrace it, we position ourselves to receive the guidance we desperately need. As you navigate life, be mindful of the stillness. It's not just an absence of activity, but an opportunity to connect deeply with God. When you embrace these moments, you open your heart to the warnings He is offering. Silence is a powerful teacher capable of reshaping your perspective and steering you back on the path He has prepared for you. The voice of God often speaks loudest in the quiet moments. It's up to us to be still enough to hear. When you experience feelings of discomfort or unease in your life, it's crucial to recognize that these emotions can often be God's way of warning you. Discomfort is not merely an emotional response, it can be a profound indicator that something is amiss. Whether it manifests as anxiety, restlessness, or a sense of foreboding, these feelings serve as divine nudges urging you to pay attention. In a world that often encourages us to push through discomfort without pause, we must remember that God uses these sensations to guide us toward His intended path. Discomfort can arise in various situations such as relationships, career choices, or personal endeavors. It can feel like a knot in your stomach, a lingering thought that won't go away, or a persistent voice urging you to reconsider your choices. These feelings are not to be dismissed lightly. They are God's alerts designed to protect you from harm or misalignment with His purpose. The unease you feel is a call to examine your circumstances more closely, to delve deeper into what might be causing this tension within you. God's warnings often come through discomfort as a means of redirecting our paths. When we ignore these feelings, we risk stepping into situations that could lead to greater pain or confusion. This unease can be a sign that you need to pause, seek counsel, or even take a step back. It's not about being paralyzed by fear, it's about being wise and discerning. God is trying to help you avoid pitfalls that could detract from your calling or distract you from His will for your life. Moreover, discomfort can push us towards self-reflection and growth. It compels us to ask hard questions. Why do I feel this way? What is God trying to teach me? Am I heading in the right direction? In the process of grappling with these questions, we often find clarity and deeper insight into our true desires and God's intentions for us. God wants us to thrive, and sometimes discomfort is necessary to wake us up to the realities we need to confront. This is where the importance of prayer and seeking God's guidance becomes paramount. When you encounter discomfort, it's an invitation to draw nearer to Him. Use that unease as fuel for prayer, asking God to reveal the source of your feelings and guide your next steps. He is faithful and will illuminate your path when you seek Him sincerely. In these moments of vulnerability, you can find strength, comfort, and direction. The key is to embrace discomfort as a tool of divine communication, rather than viewing it solely as a negative experience. God uses discomfort to nudge us toward awareness and alignment with His will. When we lean into these feelings and allow them to guide us, we open ourselves up to transformative experiences that lead us closer to our purpose. Recognizing discomfort as a warning is crucial. It is God's way of keeping us attuned to His voice and the plans He has for our lives. Rather than running away from discomfort, let it draw you nearer to Him, where you can find the peace and clarity you seek. In recognizing that God is trying to warn you, you embrace a profound opportunity for growth and transformation. Each warning, whether it comes through stillness, discomfort, closed doors, or the voices of those around you, is a testament to God's love and desire for your well-being. He does not want to see you wander off course or face unnecessary pain. Instead, He seeks to guide you toward a future filled with purpose and fulfillment. When you tune into these warnings, you step into a space of divine wisdom. You become more attuned to the Holy Spirit, who illuminates the path before you and helps you navigate life's complexities with clarity. Embracing these warnings allows you to cultivate a deeper relationship with God, positioning you to hear His voice more clearly amidst the noise of the world. As you move forward, remember that God's warnings are not meant to bring fear, but to offer protection and direction. They are gentle nudges toward His plans for you, steering you away from potential pitfalls and toward the abundant life He has promised. Trust in His guidance, remain open to His leading, and allow Him to shape your journey. Embrace each warning as a loving invitation to realign with your true purpose. In doing so, you will find peace, assurance, and a renewed sense of destiny that only comes from walking in harmony with God's will. Do you know why some people fade away from your life without explanation? It's because they couldn't fake you anymore. They couldn't keep up with the pretense, the charade, or the mask they wore when they stood before you. You see, people can imitate loyalty, they can mimic friendship, and they can counterfeit love, but only for so long. When the weight of authenticity demands its price, the fake cannot sustain the act. That's why the moment of separation often comes with clarity. It isn't your loss, it's their exposure. Understand this truth: your life, your character, your purpose, these are rooted in something divine, something unshakable. God created you not to be deceived, but to discern. The spirit within you often sends warning signals long before the truth becomes evident. When someone's words don't align with their actions, when their presence feels heavy instead of uplifting, when trust becomes strained, those are signs. God allows these moments to protect you. He knows the destiny He placed in you, and He won't allow counterfeit people to derail the authenticity required for your purpose. You are not ordinary. You carry something genuine, something that draws people to you. That genuineness is a threat to those who cannot match it. It exposes their insecurities, their inconsistencies, and their hidden agendas. People who can no longer fake you are not equipped to journey with you. They were never meant to. Their season in your life was temporary, but their exit is a testament to the purity of your spirit. So let them go. Don't chase after people who walked away. Don't grieve the loss of falsehood, and don't apologize for being true to yourself. God removes what doesn't serve His plan for you to make room for what does. If the separation leaves you feeling lighter, more focused, and more at peace, then it wasn't just people leaving, it was God's hand cleansing your path. The truth is, authenticity costs something. It costs relationships built on convenience. It costs the approval of those who are not genuine. It costs you the crowd, but it rewards you with the right people. Let God handle the separation, because when the fake leaves, the real arrives. And when the real arrives, it aligns with the calling on your life, bringing clarity, support, and growth. Today, stand firm in who you are. Stand firm in what God has made you to be. The ones who couldn't fake you anymore are proof of your light, your value, and your purpose. Keep walking in truth, and the right people will follow. Fake people cannot sustain their facade when faced with genuine individuals, and this is where the separation begins. You see, pretense has an expiration date. It can only last as long as it isn't challenged by the light of truth. When you live authentically, when you carry yourself with honesty and integrity, it creates an atmosphere that exposes anything less. Their words begin to falter, their actions no longer align, and their energy feels forced. Why? Because the light of authenticity demands consistency, and for someone who is faking their intentions, that demand is too heavy to bear. When people leave your life suddenly, it's not always because you did something wrong. Often it's because they can no longer uphold the act. Your truth makes their lies uncomfortable. Your presence becomes a mirror reflecting back their insincerity, their hidden agendas, or their weaknesses. They can no longer hide behind smiles that don't match their hearts or promises they never intended to keep. Authenticity has a way of unsettling the pretender. It removes the shadows where deception thrives. It's not about arrogance, it's about a life lived with purpose and clarity. And when that light shines brightly, it creates a natural separation between the real and the fake. The ones who leave were never equipped to handle the weight of truth, because truth exposes what's hidden. They couldn't fake you anymore because your very essence demanded what they were not prepared to give: honesty, loyalty, and sincerity. This separation is not rejection, it is revelation. It reveals their inability to align with what is genuine. And while it may hurt at first, remember that it is necessary. God allows the fake to fall away so the real can rise in your life. So when they leave, it's not the end, it's clarity. It's freedom from illusions and false connections that could never stand the test of time. The separation from counterfeit relationships is not random. It is often God's way of protecting you. We sometimes hold on to people thinking they are essential to our journey, but God sees what we cannot. He sees the hidden motives, the quiet betrayals, and the subtle manipulations that are invisible to our natural eyes. His removal of these individuals from your life is not a punishment, it is a shield. It is His divine intervention to ensure that nothing and no one can derail the plans He has for you. God's protection doesn't always look the way we expect. Sometimes it comes in the form of a closed door or a sudden departure. You may question it, feel the sting of loss, or wonder what you did wrong. But in hindsight, you will see His hand in it at all. God knows the purpose He placed in you, and He won't allow people who lack integrity, loyalty, or honesty to remain close to your heart. He knows that the weight of your destiny cannot afford to be carried by those who are unreliable or untrue. When God separates you from certain people, it's not rejection, it's redirection. He is redirecting you toward those who will nurture your spirit, support your growth, and align with the purpose He has written for your life. You may not understand it in the moment, but trust that God's plan is always for your good. The people He removes were never meant to stay. Their presence would have hindered you, slowed you down, or led you into a place that is not part of His design for you. The process of separation can be painful, but it is necessary. It is God's way of pruning your life. Just as a gardener removes dead branches to allow a plant to thrive, He cuts away what is unhealthy, insincere, or damaging, even when we don't recognize the need for it. Trust in His wisdom, for He knows what you cannot see. Every person He removes is a step closer to the people, opportunities, and blessings that are meant for you. His protection is not just about safety, it's about preparation. It's about aligning you with your destiny, free from the weights and distractions of the inauthentic. The Spirit within you is a gift from God, placed there to guide you, protect you, and help you discern the truth. Discernment is not just an ability, it is a divine safeguard that God uses to reveal what is hidden. When someone's words do not match their actions, when their presence feels more like a drain than a blessing, and when trust begins to waver, those are not coincidences, they are signals from the Spirit. God is always speaking, always guiding, and He often does so through the uneasy feelings you get around certain people. Pay attention to these signals. They are God's way of warning you, of opening your eyes to something you might not want to see. Discernment isn't always comfortable because it pulls back the curtain on people's true intentions. It forces you to confront the reality that not everyone who smiles at you is for you. Not everyone who praises you has pure motives. Some are drawn to your light but carry darkness within them. The Spirit reveals these things not to make you suspicious or fearful, but to protect your heart and keep you on the path of your purpose. Many times we ignore these signs because we don't want to believe them. We want to hold on to relationships, friendships, or connections that feel familiar or convenient. But ignoring discernment comes at a cost. It delays your growth, exposes you to unnecessary pain, and sometimes pulls you away from God's plan. The Spirit speaks to you in subtle but unmistakable ways, nudging you to look deeper, to ask questions, and to trust your intuition. Those feelings of unease or inconsistency are not accidents. They are divine whispers telling you, pay attention. Something isn't right. Discernment is also about timing. God doesn't always expose everything at once. Sometimes He reveals things gradually, giving you the strength to process and respond. Trust His timing as much as you trust His warnings. He knows when you're ready to see the truth, and He won't overwhelm you before you're prepared to act. Lean into that wisdom and be willing to let go when the signs are clear. It is far better to walk away from someone who isn't genuine than to stay and compromise your peace, your purpose, and your alignment with God. When you embrace discernment, you align yourself with God's wisdom. You learn to navigate relationships with grace, knowing that every revelation is for your good. Trust the Spirit to guide you, protect you, and keep you focused on what truly matters. God gave you this gift not to make life harder, but to make it clearer. Listen closely, and you will always be one step ahead of deception. Some people are only meant to be in your life for a season, and when that season ends, their departure is not a mistake. It is a necessary part of your journey. God works in seasons just as He does in nature. There is a time for planting, a time for growing, and a time for pruning. In the same way, there is a time when certain relationships are meant to blossom and a time when they must come to an end. Not everyone is meant to go where God is leading you. Their purpose in your life was temporary, and when that purpose is fulfilled, they will naturally fade away. This is not something to grieve, but to understand. Think of it like a chapter in a book. Each chapter plays a role in telling the story, but no chapter lasts forever. When a chapter ends, it is not the end of the story. It is simply the beginning of a new one. Some people come into your life to teach you lessons, to challenge you, or to help you grow. Others come as blessings, but their presence is not meant to be permanent. Their time in your life was valuable, but it was never eternal. The challenge is that we often try to hold on to people who were only meant to stay for a short while. We cling to relationships out of comfort, fear, or familiarity, not realizing that their departure is part of God's divine plan. When God removes someone from your life, it is because their role in your journey is complete. Keeping them around beyond their season only creates unnecessary pain, confusion, and distraction. Letting go of people who no longer serve your purpose requires faith. It requires trusting that God knows what He is doing. He sees the bigger picture. He understands the path ahead and knows who is truly meant to walk alongside you. When you hold on to temporary people, you risk missing out on the eternal relationships God has prepared for you. He cannot bring the right people into your life if your hands are full of those who no longer belong there. Seasons of separation are also seasons of preparation. When someone exits your life, it creates space not just for others, but for God to work on you. These moments allow you to grow stronger, wiser, and more aligned with your purpose. They teach you to depend on God rather than on people. They remind you that your ultimate source of love, strength, and guidance comes from Him alone. So when people leave, don't resist it. Don't question God's reasoning or cling to what is no longer meant for you. Trust that He is orchestrating everything for your good. Their season may have ended, but your journey continues, guided by the one who knows the beginning and the end. Every person who exits is making room for the next chapter of your life to unfold. And with God leading the way, that chapter will always be greater than the one before. Being authentic and true to yourself often threatens those who cannot match your sincerity. Your genuine nature, your unwavering commitment to living in truth, and your refusal to conform to pretense create an atmosphere that some people simply cannot endure. Authenticity demands a level of consistency and honesty that fake people are unable to maintain. It shines a light on what is false, and in that light, their pretense begins to crumble. They are exposed not by your words or actions, but simply by the strength of your character. You see, people who operate with hidden agendas or insincere motives are comfortable in environments where deception and superficiality are the norm. But when they encounter someone who is real, someone who does not play games or wear masks, they are faced with a reality they cannot fake. They feel the weight of their own pretense, and it becomes unbearable. Your authenticity creates a standard they are unwilling or unable to meet, and so they retreat. This retreat is not a reflection of your shortcomings. It is a reflection of their inability to align with what is true. It is a testament to the power of living with integrity. People who cannot handle your authenticity are not rejecting you. They are running from the challenge your life presents to their falsehood. Your presence demands honesty, and for those who have built their lives on deception, that demand is too great. Being authentic doesn't mean being perfect. It means being honest about who you are, embracing your flaws, and living in alignment with your values. This kind of living requires courage because it often leads to separation. But the separation is necessary. It weeds out those who do not belong in your journey. It ensures that only those who are genuine and sincere can remain close to you. Authenticity is like a refining fire. It purifies your relationships, leaving only what is real and valuable. Sometimes people will try to change you or dim your light to make themselves more comfortable. They may criticize you, misunderstand you, or even distance themselves from you. Let them go. Your job is not to make others comfortable in their falsehood. Your job is to walk in truth and fulfill your purpose. Authenticity is not about pleasing others. It is about pleasing God, who created you to live boldly and truthfully. When you stay true to yourself, you may lose some people, but you will never lose what is meant for you. Those who are meant to be in your life will not be intimidated by your authenticity. They will celebrate it. They will match your sincerity and walk with you in truth. The ones who leave could not fake you anymore because your genuine nature demanded what they were unwilling to give. And that is not your loss, it is your gain. You are free from pretense, free from deception, and free to live fully in the purpose God has designed for you. When people cannot manipulate you, they begin to lose their grip and their true intentions come to light. Manipulation thrives in the absence of awareness, in the shadows of misunderstanding and doubt. But when you operate with clarity and wisdom, manipulation becomes ineffective. The plans they crafted in secrecy begin to fail, and the control they sought to wield over your life slips from their grasp. This is not because of anything you said or did to confront them directly, but because of the strength of your awareness and your unwillingness to bend to their schemes. Manipulators rely on confusion and emotional control to keep you entangled in their web. They play on your kindness, exploit your vulnerabilities, and twist your trust to suit their own agendas. But the moment you see through their tactics, their power over you is broken. You stop reacting to their games, stop feeding their control, and begin to take back your authority. They realize they can no longer deceive you, no longer dictate your actions, and no longer use you for their selfish purposes. This realization often leads to their withdrawal. Manipulators cannot thrive in environments where clarity and boundaries exist. When they see that you are no longer falling for their words, no longer second-guessing your worth, and no longer seeking their validation, they have no choice but to retreat. It is not that they have changed, it is that they know their games will no longer work on you. They couldn't fake you anymore because the truth of who you are became too powerful for their deception to withstand. You see, manipulation is a tool of insecurity. People who manipulate others do so because they feel inadequate in their own lives. They seek to control others as a way to mask their own fears, doubts, and weaknesses. But when you stand in your truth, when you refuse to be controlled, you expose their insecurities for what they are. Your strength becomes a mirror, reflecting their lack of power and forcing them to confront their inability to dominate you. God equips you with discernment and wisdom to recognize manipulation, and He gives you the courage to set boundaries. Boundaries are not walls to keep people out. They are gates to protect what is sacred, your peace, your purpose, and your alignment with God's will. When you establish these boundaries, manipulators cannot cross them. They are stopped not by your resistance, but by the strength of your resolve and the clarity of your purpose. So when someone who sought to manipulate you begins to distance themselves, let them go. Their exit is a sign of your growth. It is proof that you are no longer susceptible to their tactics and no longer willing to compromise your peace for their benefit. God removes these individuals not just to protect you, but to elevate you. He allows their departure so you can move forward without the weight of their control, free to pursue the path He has set before you. Trust in this process, for it is a step toward greater freedom, greater clarity, and greater alignment with God's perfect plan for your life. When the mask comes off and the true nature of someone is revealed, it is not always a moment of celebration. It can be a moment of pain, disbelief, and even betrayal. But this unveiling is a gift from God, even if it feels like a loss. God is a God of truth, and He does not want you to live in deception or build your life on a foundation of lies. When someone's pretense can no longer stand and their actions expose their heart, it is God intervening to protect you from further harm. He is showing you who they truly are so you can make decisions based on truth, not illusion. The unveiling is not always immediate. Sometimes it takes months or even years for the mask to slip. During that time, you might have invested in the relationship, shared your heart, and trusted deeply. But when God decides it's time for the truth to come out, no mask can stay in place. What is hidden will be brought to light. Because God loves you too much to let you continue in a false relationship. He allows the truth to surface, not to hurt you, but to heal you and set you free from what was never meant to be. When the mask comes off, it might feel like you've been living a lie, but this is not the case. You were living in your truth, but the other person was not. Their deception was not your fault. You cannot control how others choose to live, but you can control how you respond when the truth is revealed. God doesn't reveal the truth so you can harbor anger or resentment. He reveals it so you can walk away with clarity and peace. Holding on to bitterness only keeps you chained to what God has already freed you from. It's important to recognize that when someone's mask falls, it doesn't change who you are. It doesn't diminish your worth, your integrity, or your ability to love. If anything, it strengthens you. It teaches you to trust God's discernment and to value the gift of truth, no matter how difficult it may be to accept. It's a reminder that your identity is not tied to how others treat you, but to who God says you are. You are fearfully and wonderfully made, and no amount of betrayal or pretense can change that. The unveiling also serves as a warning for the future. It sharpens your discernment and teaches you to look beyond appearances. It's not about becoming suspicious of everyone, but about seeking God's guidance in your relationships. Let Him lead you, and He will protect you from those who wear masks. Trust His timing, even when it feels delayed, because He always reveals the truth when you are ready to see it. When someone's true nature is revealed, take it as a sign to realign your path. Do not cling to the illusion, for what is real is far greater than anything false. God removes the mask so you can move forward without carrying the weight of deception. He allows the truth to come out so you can step into the freedom of living authentically and walking with people who are just as genuine as you are. Trust in His revelation, for it is not just an ending, it is the beginning of something far greater. Sometimes the hardest truth to face is realizing that the love, loyalty, or respect you offered was not returned in kind. It's a painful moment when you see that the relationship you valued was built on uneven ground, that the effort you poured in was met with pretense, and that your trust was placed in someone unworthy of it. But this revelation, as heartbreaking as it may be, is also liberating. God does not reveal these truths to break you. He reveals them to protect you from staying in a place that could destroy your peace, your purpose, or your destiny. When people cannot fake their feelings anymore, their actions begin to align with their true intentions. The kind words become hollow. The promises fade. The gestures lose sincerity. It's as though the facade that they carefully constructed can no longer bear the weight of the truth. This is not a reflection of your inadequacy. It's a reflection of their inability to meet the standard of authenticity that your presence demands. They couldn't fake it anymore because the love you give, the trust you extend, and the loyalty you live by require a level of honesty they were not prepared to sustain. This realization is often accompanied by a sense of betrayal, but it's important to remember that betrayal is not a reflection of your value, it is a revelation of their character. God allows these moments to teach you discernment, to show you that not everyone who claims to care for you truly does. But He also uses these moments to refine you, to strengthen your resolve, and to deepen your dependence on Him as the ultimate source of love and truth. People may fail you, but God never will. When their true feelings are exposed, it's an opportunity for you to assess what you deserve. You deserve relationships built on mutual respect, genuine love, and unwavering loyalty. You deserve connections that uplift you, align with your purpose, and draw you closer to God's plan for your life. When someone's actions reveal that they cannot offer this, let them go. Holding on to a relationship rooted in falsehood only delays the blessings that God has in store for you. It's also a moment to reflect on your own heart. Despite the hurt, resist the temptation to become bitter or guarded. Let this experience refine you, not harden you. Continue to love deeply, trust wisely, and walk with integrity. Do not let the actions of others dim the light God has placed within you. Their inability to reciprocate your love is not a reason to stop giving it. Instead, let it be a reminder that your capacity to love is a reflection of God's love for you, pure, unconditional, and limitless. When someone's feelings are revealed as insincere, don't chase after answers or try to fix what was never whole. Trust that God is redirecting you for a reason. He is pruning your relationships to make room for those who will honor you, cherish you, and walk with you in truth. It may hurt now, but in time you will see that their departure was not a loss but a gain. It was God's way of clearing the path for greater, more meaningful connections. Let this experience strengthen your resolve to seek authenticity in every aspect of your life. Trust that God, in His wisdom, removes what is false to make way for what is real. And as you move forward, let the lessons of this moment guide you, not in fear, but in faith that the best is yet to come. When people can no longer fake their love for you, their departure becomes an undeniable signal that God is clearing your life for something better. Often we cling to relationships that are not meant to last because of fear of being alone, fear of rejection, or fear of what the future holds. But God, in His infinite wisdom, sometimes allows people to reveal their true selves, not to hurt you, but to set you free. When someone who could not truly love you walks away, it is a divine act of liberation, giving you space to heal, grow, and prepare for the people who are truly meant to be in your life. What's important to understand is that their departure does not diminish your worth. Their inability to fake their feelings does not lessen the value of who you are. You are not defined by the way others treat you. You are defined by how you stand in the truth of who you are, how you love, and how you trust God's plan for your life. When people leave, it's a confirmation that you are not meant to settle for relationships that don't honor the person you are becoming. You are destined for more, destined for those who will see you for who you truly are, not for who they want you to be. God does not call you to be in relationships that drain you, that make you question your worth, or that require you to constantly prove yourself. He calls you to be in relationships that nourish you, that affirm your value, and that help you grow in His image. The relationships that are built on genuine love and mutual respect will thrive, while those built on false pretenses or manipulation will eventually unravel. When someone can no longer fake their love for you, it's a divine act of protection, redirecting your life towards the relationships that will lift you up and align with your purpose. In times like these, it's crucial to lean into God's wisdom and trust in His perfect timing. He knows when to reveal the truth, and He knows when it's time for certain people to exit your life. Don't chase after the ones who leave. Don't try to convince them to stay or prove that you are worth their affection. God has already shown you their true heart, and in this revelation there is freedom. Trust that His plan is greater than anything you could have imagined. He will fill the void with people who will love you for who you are, not for what you can do for them or how they can use you. When someone's ability to fake their feelings for you comes to an end, it's also an opportunity for you to rediscover the love you have for yourself. It's easy to get lost in the validation of others, to seek their approval, and to tie your sense of self-worth to how they treat you. But when the truth is revealed and people walk away, it's a call to reclaim your sense of identity, not from the opinions of others, but from the truth of who you are in Christ. You are fearfully and wonderfully made, and your worth is not up for negotiation. The people who are meant to love you will see your value without you having to prove it. As people who can no longer fake their feelings for you exit your life, embrace the space they leave behind. Don't fill that space with bitterness, regret, or resentment. Fill it with hope, faith, and anticipation for what God is about to bring into your life. The relationships that remain will be those built on truth, love, and authenticity. And these are the ones that will truly elevate you, encourage you, and walk with you in the destiny that God has set before you. God works in mysterious ways, and sometimes His protection is disguised as pain. But the pain of loss is often the catalyst for greater growth, greater wisdom, and greater joy. Trust in God's plan, for He will never leave you empty. He will always fill the gaps with what is best for you. And in time, you will look back and realize that the people who left were never meant to stay. They were only there to teach you the lessons you needed to learn in order to move forward. And in their place, He will send the right people, the ones who will not just love you in word, but in truth, who will walk alongside you in authenticity and purpose. When someone can no longer fake their love for you, it becomes a powerful moment of clarity, a moment where you must stand firm in the truth of who you are and what you deserve. This revelation, though painful, is a defining moment in your personal growth. It's in these moments of exposure that you truly begin to understand the strength of your character and the importance of your self-worth. God never intended for you to live in the shadows, to settle for relationships that require you to compromise who you are, or to stay in environments where you feel undervalued or unseen. The exposure of someone's inability to love you authentically isn't a setback, it's an opportunity for you to reassess your value and your needs. It's a moment to reflect on how much you've given, how much you've invested, and how much you've compromised in the name of love or loyalty. But God is showing you that your love and your loyalty are precious, not to be taken for granted. When the truth comes to light, it is not a rejection of you, it is a rejection of what was never meant to be. It is God clearing the path for something far greater, something more aligned with His purpose for your life. You see, the truth is, the more someone pretends, the more it takes out of them to maintain the facade. When the pretense becomes too much to carry, it is then that their true feelings are exposed. And this revelation, as much as it might sting in the moment, is God's mercy at work. It is His way of saying, you deserve more. You deserve someone who can love you without pretending, who can stand by you without wearing a mask, who can be with you in full transparency. You deserve relationships that are built on a foundation of trust, honesty, and genuine affection. When someone can no longer pretend, it forces you to face the truth of your situation. No longer are you left in the dark, wondering where you stand. The exposure, though it may feel like a wound, is in fact a healing agent. It allows you to let go of illusions, to release what was never real, and to embrace what is. This act of truth telling is not just for them, it's for you too. It frees you from the weight of trying to make something work that was never meant to be. It lifts the burden of questioning and self-doubt, for you can now see clearly what God has been trying to show you all along. As painful as it may seem, the moment their true feelings are exposed is the beginning of your realignment with God's purpose for your life. It's a step toward deeper self-awareness, a closer relationship with God, and a greater understanding of your own worth. The people who walk away or reveal their insincerity were never meant to walk with you into the fullness of your destiny. They were simply there to teach you lessons in love, in discernment, and in strength. And now that you know the truth, you can make better decisions about where to invest your time, energy, and heart. God never wants you to be deceived. He does not want you to stay in relationships that drain you, that cause you to question your worth, or that keep you in confusion. When people can no longer fake their love for you, it is God's way of protecting you from harm. It is a divine act of grace. He removes what is false so you can receive what is true. The exposure of someone's insincerity creates space for real love to enter, for real connections to be formed, and for real joy to be experienced. It is critical in these moments to remember that your worth has never been tied to someone else's ability to love you. Your worth is inherent, set by God, and unchanging. No matter how much someone else may have failed to see it, your value is immeasurable. Their inability to love you as you deserve does not lessen you. It highlights their lack of capacity to appreciate what you bring into their lives. But God sees you, He values you, and He will never allow you to remain in a situation that diminishes you. His plan for you is one of abundance, one of true unconditional love, and one that leads you to relationships that will nurture and support your growth. So when someone can no longer fake their love for you, let it be a reminder to you that you are worthy of the very best. Let it propel you into a season of self-discovery where you align yourself with God's truth about who you are. You are loved, you are valuable, and you are deserving of relationships that are authentic, genuine, and built on mutual respect. Trust in God's wisdom and know that the truth, though it may hurt initially, will always set you free and lead you to something far better than you ever imagined. In conclusion, when people can no longer fake their love for you, it is not a sign of your inadequacy, but a powerful affirmation of your worth and a divine invitation to step into a greater future. It is God's way of revealing the truth, clearing the path, and making room for the relationships and blessings that align with your purpose. The pain you may feel today will eventually transform into a profound strength as you release what was never meant for you and embrace the love, respect, and authenticity that God has destined for your life. Trust in God's timing, trust in His plan, and know that He is always leading you towards your highest good. The journey may be difficult, but rest assured, every step taken in faith brings you closer to the future He has prepared for you, one that is filled with true love, lasting peace, and unshakable joy.